I think like our education system was created to produce factory workers,
100%.
which is nuts.
I think everyone is addicted to something on some level that they don't even recognize that they are, right? Whether that's entrepreneurship, as being addicted to, buying houses, starting businesses, going after it, whatever the case might be, there's an addiction level there. Whether it's someone who's addicted to doom scrolling on TikTok. When I went into this job and I took that massive pay cut, the plan was to learn how to invest in real estate. Now, over time, I've definitely done that. This is all wholesaling real estate. So I'm learning how to acquire deals. I'm learning how to run numbers on them. I'm learning how to do a lot of that, really, which is maybe the hardest part about real estate. Once again, I'm trading time for money. A new sales regime comes in. They don't really know me. They don't really like the fact that they didn't hire me. And it felt very much like I felt like a paradigm shift.
Frank D'Astoli.
Yes, sir.
What's going on, brother?
What's up, man?
I'm just going to do a little introduction. So thank you for being here. For the listeners that don't know Frankie here, he is of many things. He's a man of God. He's a father. He's a husband. He's a real estate investor. He's a business builder. He's a leader. He is a lot of things. You do a ton of stuff. You wear a lot of hats, but you do it all very proficient.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking to catching up with you today to hear, what's changed since we last seen each other, and just basically catch up. So thank you for being on here today.
Dude, I appreciate you. And, I'm very appreciative of all the adjectives because, I'm as my wife knows, I'm a words of affirmation guy. That's my love language. So I appreciate you giving me a little something right there. And I will just say for you as well, it's been a while, and, giving you that hat today, you bought that thing probably like 8 months ago or something that it was. So it's good to actually see you again. But I'm very, impressed with how far you've come as well. Because I remember our last meeting, you were kind of just telling me a little bit about being in the trenches of real estate, kind of figuring things out as you guys were opening up. It might have been your second laundromat or something like that. And now you guys have grown even more. And now you've kicked off the podcast. So sincerely, thank you for inviting me on. I appreciate that. And I'm happy to be here, happy to catch up with you, bro, for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah, last time we saw each other, I've had many stages of burnout through the last year and a half. And actually, when we met a little over a year ago, that me and Justin had just locked in the first laundromat. We didn't even have the second one, wasn't even on the radar yet. But it was just a new experience. I was out of work from that tore my pec.
Right.
So I was out of work, just bought a business I knew nothing about. Was still neck deep into real estate stuff. Was trying to build that even out further. Yeah. Right. I ended up hiring you as a coach in wholesaling and all that, but yeah,
I remember.
man.
I think you were in a flip, were you not at that time too?
I think so. I think I might have been doing a flip.
Yeah.
Did a couple this year too.
Nice.
So
because that was at the coffee shop, I think. Right?
Okay, yes.
We met at the coffee shop, and I remember you were like, "Yo, life's hard right now," and I was just like, "Hey, bro, I'm in the same boat." You know what I mean, man? But look, just and now look at where it's come, right? So obviously you were in the trenches there. I think you went back to work, is what you were telling me, right? But now since then, you've opened up multiple laundromats. Now you probably feel, and I'm making assumptions, but for you to let me know if I'm wrong here, but you're probably feeling some level of stability to some degree.
Yes.
And you could at least look back and say, look at where I've come and look at what I gained from that, right? And I think for me, my mentality is always that, you're always going to have ideas. You're always going to want to do things. But in the realities of it all is if it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, also great. What did we learn from that, right? And mainly, what virtues did we get from it? And I think for being entrepreneurs and for anybody that's listening that wants to be an entrepreneur, that wants to, whether it's leave their job and start buying laundromats like you did or go into the, hood like I do and buy houses, right? Things along those lines. It's you take these chances, and you grow in fortitude, you grow in perseverance, you grow in patience, and that's what the actual goal is to hit. You know what I mean? I think from your experience, looking back on your journey so far, you could say, look at where I've grown and look at what it's made me.
Sure, yeah, and it's hard to think about that stuff when you're in the thick of it.
Yeah.
So that's why I really value relationships like this, because we're both obviously chasing slightly different ventures, but we deal with the same stuff. And it's a lot of things that most entrepreneurs don't talk about. 100%. I was like, dude, bro, I don't think I can pay my mortgage this month. And you're like, me neither. It's all good, but we're going to figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And another thing, obviously I've learned from you is, putting faith first. And, I guess we'll get into that as we conversate today, but yeah, man, I just, again, I value the friendship that we've built over the last
I value
year.
it
So
as well, man. Yeah, I appreciate you.
and so you want to backtrack a little bit?
Let's do it.
You want to
Yeah.
tell the people who don't know Frank
Sure.
D'Astoli?
I just want to make sure my phone was on Do Not Disturb. You know,
Where-
I don't need
yeah,
wife
yeah.
or Steve blowing me up because he tends to do that as well.
The work wife.
Yeah,
The work wife.
100%.
But yeah, man, do you want to run through?
Sure. Yeah. So was born in Brooklyn, New York. I lived there till about 6 years old. Nothing too crazy. My parents lived there basically their whole life. We moved to Jackson, New Jersey, Ocean County. All that people really know about Jackson, New Jersey is Six Flags. Like that's really it. You know what I mean? So
Okay, so-
but they got a great pizza spot in there now called Brooklyn Square. So maybe some people will know that too. But I lived there. And one of the best things my parents ever did for me, they've given me a lot, but one of the best things that they've ever done for me is put me in karate when I was 6 years old. That taught me a lot of great attributes such as responsibility, courage, strength, things along those lines, not just on a physical perspective, but a mental perspective, how to set goals and achieve them. I think that was a huge foundation for me. Shout out Art Bynes Karate and Howell. You guys changed my life over there. So much that as I, grew up, I started working at the karate school as well. And I, built a lot of my ability to do public speaking, ability to lead a room, ability to influence in that dojo, which was so important to me. And then I not necessarily graduated. Well, yeah, I graduated high school and then I went to college, went to University of Delaware. Got a finance degree, but really I got a frat star degree. You know what I mean? Like I was there to party 100%. And I had a really fun time at Delaware, but when I left, I very much felt empty. You know what I mean? It felt like I was in this bubble and came out. And at that point is, when I really was kind of like, what is life gonna, what exactly am I chasing here? You know what I mean? It was kind of like leaving in this kind of emptiness of, there's no real fulfillment at this point. At that point, I started working with a really good mentor of mine. His name's Kenny. He was my boss. I was in medical device sales. So I sold orthopedic implants. It was a phenomenal job. I was making a ton of money as like a 22-year-old kid. But ultimately what I experienced was a true trade of time for money. Kenny, who I respect heavily, he has 2 girls. He's got like 8 dogs. I respect him for that. I want like 8 kids.
Dude,
I don't want 8 dogs. But he's got 8 dogs.
Bro, that might be worse than 8 kids.
Because it's crazy.
They can't eventually talk and listen.
I know. I think he's going to have it harder. I agree.
Oh my God.
But I watched him and he worked extremely hard. And he's from that, that mentality of, more of like, not necessarily our parents' age, but older than us, of like, work your butt off as much as you possibly can. And that's like what you bring. And he does a phenomenal job at that and he makes a lot of money. But what I just realized is like, I don't want to work 80-hour work weeks. That's not necessarily for me. And also he like loved the medical device field. He loved the relationships he had with the ortho doctors, and not that I didn't value those relationships that I was building with my docs, but I just knew that like this isn't like what I'm extremely passionate about. You know what I mean? I'm a creative person. I like to start businesses. In college, I started a cannoli company called D'Astoli's Cannolis. My first venture. Used it to basically pay my dues at the bar, right? Stuff like that. But I knew I wanted to build something there, so I stumbled upon Rich Dad Poor Dad, which many people do. Mm-hmm. And that book was just a total mind shift. It was very much like, all right, I'm trading time for money when I need to be trading time for education. And then from there, and I'm leaving everything out with Christina because that's a whole nother conversation about, where my life has taken me with my relationship with my wife. But from there, I basically really was like, I don't want to do this. I want to be in real estate, but I don't know where to go. So I started applying for a bunch of jobs like property management, project management on LinkedIn. And I was just getting denied. I had no like real estate experience at all. All I knew was Rich Dad Poor Dad, Bigger Pockets, and a few other like little podcast things.
The gateway drugs
to
real estate.
Exactly. So, I'm applying. I'm not getting in. And I ultimately applied to this one company as an acquisition specialist. And the job is basically to just answer the phone. That's all that it is. It's like $30,000. I'm making like $120 at my medical device sale job as like a 22-year-old kid.
Which is nuts.
Yeah. And at that point, I was probably 23-ish, maybe turning 24. But I was like, I knew what I wanted to get, and I knew that I needed to trade that time for education. So this is where I want to start. So I apply, and they deny me. And I'm just like, this is getting crazy, man. Like, honestly, it's really crazy. Yeah. Like, I know that I'm qualified.
Overqualified.
So I'm overqualified for that job.
Right.
So I apply. I email them over, and I'm just like, hey, I totally respect your decision, but would you mind telling me why I am not being looked at for the job? Now, there's a lot that I'm going to talk about in faith, but this is one of the few examples. At this time, I went to church, and it was like a random Tuesday, And I went into the church. It was open, and I just sat down and I prayed. And I basically was just like, Lord, please just show me the path that you want me to go. I feel like I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I'm giving it over to you. Please take care of it for me. After I said my prayer, I went to the bathroom in church. I came out. I walked out. My phone vibrated. I got an email from that job saying that they're going to offer me an interview. So they offer me an interview, but it turns out they're not interviewing me for acquisition specialist. They're interviewing me for what's called market manager, which is where I would go around running actual acquisition appointments. Now, this is in Philadelphia, right? So everything I'm doing right now, I know New York and, North Jersey, like that's where I'm at. I'm living in Jackson. Christine and I are dating. She's also living in Jackson. We actually just got engaged. I like to really make big decisions, like right after big things happen in my life.
Take action. That's what you got to do, man.
Exactly.
Stack it on.
This happens. I take a few interviews and I end up getting the job. And I'll kind of just fast forward a little bit. I take it. I go in. I'm working in Philadelphia now, and the office is a total mess. Like they're like negative 600 G's, and like they're negative. And the chief acquisition officer is like on a meeting with me. It's like the second weekend. He was like, "Cool, we're gonna give this one more shot, or we're basically gonna close this branch down."
If you want to get paid, you got to make this work, basically.
So something that I did there that I think is really important for anybody that's in a W-2 right now. One way to really get yourself situated to be successful is reach out to someone that's higher up. And I reached out to the chief acquisition officer, who was actually a Delco guy, but he was out in Tennessee. That's where the HQ was now. And I said, what do I need to do to be successful here? And the next day, he flew me out to Nashville and met me and had me shadow behind the best sales guy. And after I shadowed behind that guy, he sent me back to Philly. He made a call into the office director and said, Frankie's running every appointment from here on out. I started running every appointment. 6 months later, became a profitable branch. I got promoted to office director. Started running that. I did that for about a year. Took Philly from being ranked the 9th office to, at the end of, I think it was 2023, we were ranked 4th. So there was a lot of growth there. And then after that, shortly into that, I think it was in 2024 that they promoted me to be a regional sales manager. But I also kind of also worked as like another role where I would go open up individual offices. So I went to like help open up the Memphis office and the Cincinnati office. So they were sending me everywhere, flying all over the country, basically. I'm in Texas, I'm in Kentucky, I'm in Ohio, I'm in Tennessee, I'm in Alabama. It was cool, but Christina was pregnant, and I was like, once again, I'm trading time for money. And when I went into this job and I took that massive pay cut, the plan was to learn how to invest in real estate. Now, over time, I've definitely done that. This is all wholesaling real estate. So I'm learning how to acquire deals. I'm learning how to run numbers on them. I'm learning how to do a lot of that, really, which is maybe the hardest part about real estate. In this time period, I also buy my first house hack, which we could talk about as well. So I've learned that job. And something very corporate happened as this was all going on. I'm putting in a lot of work. A new sales regime comes in. They don't really know me. They don't really like the fact that they didn't hire me. And it felt very much like I felt like a paradigm shift. And from that point, it was January of 2024 that this happened. I started doing something called Exodus 90, which I know I've brought to your attention before.
You sent that to me. Yeah, it's basically like a 75 hard, but a religious form of it.
Correct.
And it's pretty intense.
Yes.
And I could definitely see how it could be like transform your entire life.
Yeah. And it truly
it's actually scary.
Yeah.
It's a big commitment.
75 hard is a good way of actually comparing it, because it revolves a lot around like mental physicality, but more so in a spiritual realm, right? Sure. So basically like Exodus 90, it's 90 days, and it takes you from 90 days up leading into Easter, right? So this year it's coming up January 5th. It starts. It's going to end on Easter Sunday, which is April 5th.
I actually just I have the notification on my phone.
Let's go.
Because I do eventually want to do it.
Yes.
But it's a big commitment.
It's a big commitment.
It's something, up until this point, I've shied from.
Yeah.
Because it is a pivotal point of growth, but it takes a lot of sacrifice to make that commitment. And we'll see, maybe this year.
I think I'm gonna sway you a little bit. Right? I think I will sway you.
Let's see.
So basically, the book of Exodus, from a Catholic perspective, obviously the Bible perspective, any Christian perspective, is the Jewish people are in Egypt and they're under enslavement, and Moses is brought up, and he brings them out of Egypt from the work of God, right? Moses is the leader in regards to that. And it's a very much of kind of like a Exodus 90. The way that it's looked at is you're basically acknowledging what is holding you in kind of a slave state and getting out of that bondage. So the reason why it's so intense is for that reason, right? So you do cold showers, you only drink black coffee, no music, no TV. You go into a very kind of dormant, die to self state. And the purpose of it is for you to realize what you're attached to and how to let go of those attachments and put that attachment in God. So as I started this in 2024, that was the first time that I did it. It really resonated with me because they bring you through the book of Exodus and there's a lot of reflections and you have to do a lot of prayer throughout it as well. And it was very much like these people are in bondage, and that's kind of how I felt at this job. And God was calling them out of that so that he could bring them into the promised land and make of his people a great nation, right? And I very much felt this calling that like my time at this job is done. It's time for me to come out of that, enslavement to a degree and go do it with God, right? So as Exodus 90 was going on, that's what actually happened. As I was reading this, doing these reflections, I was meeting with my team, my Exodus group. I'm telling them about this, and it very much just felt like a God-driven mission.
Quite the coincidence.
Exactly.
Right?
So Exodus finishes up, and it finishes up on Easter Sunday, and I make the resolution that I'm going to leave. But before that, I had to make a few financial movements in place. I pulled a HELOC on my house hack. I used that HELOC to close on my new primary, and then that HELOC also paid for my first BRRRR deal, which we could talk about as well.
Sure.
But after that, I put my 2 weeks in on May 17th. 2024. I remember this specifically because it was my sister-in-law's wedding, which I did right before the church ceremony. Not a good idea. I'm getting calls from the CEO at church. It's not a good idea. But it just kind of felt like I had to get it done,
Sure.
And then
rip the Band-Aid off.
Exactly. Right? June 1st was my official last day. And my partner, Steve, and I, we bought our first BRRRR deal on April 12th of 2024. And as of today, I think we're at like 37 together, 37 properties. And then I also have my duplex and my primary as well. So it's like 39, 40 properties.
Wow. So that's only been a little over a year.
Like
and a half.
18 months-ish. Yeah,
year and a half.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. That's very impressive.
I appreciate that.
That's and to see that you're still a very involved father. You have time to we'll talk about this, but rare, right? You have a whole entire community on school. Did we hit 100 people yet? Are we close?
We're at 89.
89.
Yeah, so
all
growing,
right,
guys.
so hopefully this episode will put
you.
you over 100. I'm already in there. I'm signed up.
I got to look at the camera. It could be you.
Yeah, it could be you. You guys. You could be the next 9 or 10 he needs. And what else, man? Oh, dude, you just hit a year on the Frankie D'Astoli show.
Yes.
Which is, you know what? I was an avid listener out the gate. I made it, what did episode like 20, 30, maybe? I was like, I was deep in it.
Yeah.
And then did you take a little, like a break?
Did. Yes.
And then I pulled it back up, 50 episodes in now.
Yeah.
So I got some catching up to do.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that I realized is consistency is so important.
Sure.
when I was like, cause I like to, and this is a fault of mine, like I like to like overextend myself. You know what I mean? So
Don't we all?
it was like, exactly. The Frankie D'Astoli is coming out. Cool. We're going to drop an episode on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And, I do it all from my home office. So it's not necessarily like too much of a haul getting to a studio, but it became a little bit tedious in regards to like continuing to come up with things to talk about, trying not to be repetitive on certain things. And then also I think just in general, like there's other things going on. Obviously I have the portfolio, I have the dojo, I have Rosary and real estate, I have my family. So, I think when I was doing really well with the Frankie D'Astoli show is when I was being consistent. And then when you lose that consistency, that's when you lose the audience. And it's hard to build that back up. And we've done that for sure over this past month. But now I'm trying to get into a little bit more of a level of consistency of, we're dropping episodes on Tuesday. That's it. Once a week. Keep it there. I'm putting out a lot of content on Instagram and other social platforms as well to try to keep people engaged and stuff like that. But also, I love doing it. Like I do these things because I enjoy them, not necessarily because I enjoy like helping people for sure, but I enjoy talking about certain experiences that I've had and hoping that stuff, works within other people and gives them, sort of confidence and, comfort and stuff that they're going through as well.
Yeah, you're pouring back into society. And like if you guys haven't checked out Frankie's podcast, like definitely he's on, what are you on, Spotify?
Yeah.
Are you on YouTube? Do you film it as well? Okay,
yeah,
YouTube. Yeah. Dude, you're naturally such a captivating speaker.
I appreciate you.
Since like I just did I say like a lot. So something I never noticed about myself is the way I speak is my enunciation and all that. So it's something I'm working on. And then just seeing how like naturally gifted you are on that, Like, you should be on television, which you almost were at one point in time, right?
That's true. Yeah, yeah.
Right?
I almost forget about that. Yeah. So I'll kind of touch on that a little bit, right? So graduated University of Delaware, like I said, and I love talking about being the fact that I'm like a frat started father. Like that's what I reflect on that interiorly, and just the work that Christ has done for me. But I graduated University of Delaware, and before I started dating Christina, so a little backstory. Like I said, I taught karate. And I used to teach Christina's little brother karate, Christopher, who actually is now my intern at D&D Equities when he's home from college, right?
Okay.
So, but he was like my little protege. Like the kid was a stud in karate, and I just very much resonated with him, and I poured myself into him. And my wife was like dating somebody at the time. I was still in high school, going to go into college. She's a couple years older than me, so nothing necessarily took form then, but everything has its time, and that's very important to recognize. But I went through college, graduated college, and this, like, I don't even remember how it happened, man. This woman like hit me up and was like, hey, like, I came across your Instagram, like wanted to know if you wanted to possibly like come and interview to be like on this MTV show. I'm like, okay. And now somebody got to recognize about me is like, I loved Jersey Shore growing up. Like you see this rosary that I have on right now? I would wear a rosary in middle school and high school because the guys from Jersey Shore wore it. And what's so funny is like, I didn't even know what the rosary was. Like I was Catholic, but I was culturally Catholic, right?
Sure.
I had no idea what the rosary was. I thought they were just wearing jewelry. And it's funny now, I built a whole brand and pray the rosary every single day. But long story short, she reached out to me. She was like, hey, do you want to like come on this MTV show? And I was like, cool, like I'll do like an interview. And I remember I was in Miami because I was working in medical device sales, and I had to go out there to like take like this course for my job. And I did the interview from my hotel room. And she had this person interview me, and I thought I was basically going to interview to be like someone just that like comes on the show as like kind of like an extra, but like knows these girls. Like the whole theme of the show was going to be that these like 6 girls were going to like go party in Vegas, and I was going to come on with my brand D'Astoli's Cannolis, and I was going to be someone that the girls kind of knew.
Like
and
a planned,
exactly, like a planned person.
Like figure for that.
Exactly. So then I do the interview, and about like a week goes by, and they're like, hey, they really, really like you. They want you to be a little bit more of like an actual person like on the show, like someone that's on it more often. Can you do a second interview? I was like, sure. So I interviewed with like a second person, and they're asking me a bunch of questions about my cannoli business, which is like really funny. And it was in Vegas, and they brought up like Chippendales, which I don't even know exactly what that is. It's like, I think it's like some
it's
sort
like a
of
dude stripper.
Yeah,
thing,
they
right?
basically wanted me to do something at Chippendales with my cannolis. It was getting really crazy. And I remember I was back home in Jackson during the second interview, and I'm in the dining room, and this is going on, and my parents are in the living room, and they're like hearing this, like, what the heck's going on here, right?
What did our kid learn? What did we just pay for college?
Right,
for?
literally. So then basically this happens, and about like a week or so later, the woman hits me up, and she's like, hey, like, I just want to let you know that they're changing the way that this is going to go. And they actually want it to be like a Vegas project, but they want it to be like 4 guys and 4 girls. And they want you to be one of the 4 guys. And I'm like, okay, like I'm going to have to think about this, like this is interesting. And they invite me out to LA for like an in-person talk, like to talk with the cast or the team or whatever it is. Now at this point, Christina and I like just started going out, not even officially dating. And I just knew that if I were to go do this, that would be done. And the little backstory on my wife, like, yeah, I taught her little brother karate, but when I came back from college, and even throughout college, I had a good relationship with God, but it was kind of like, I call it like almost like a sugar daddy relationship. Like I would go and like say like, hey, like, I really want this to happen for me. So can you make this happen for me? And it was very much more of like, I'm receiving, but I'm not giving anything back in return. It was kind of like that. But, the way that Christ works is, I kind of imagine him as like my anchor and I'm a boat, right? He always keeps me anchored and I'm the boat. And sometimes I might go a little further out to sea, but he could always pull me back. And when I look at my college experience, like that was very much it. I was far out many times, but he continued to pull me back. And I think this is one of those moments where, I came back from college and I went to mass with my mom, and I went up to receive communion, to receive the Holy Eucharist. And as I was walking back up the pew, I saw my wife there, head down, praying. And at that time, I haven't seen her since I taught her little brother karate, but her family, very devout Catholics. And I saw her and I was like, I need that in my life. And I remember I got back in the car with my mom, and I was like, yeah, like I want to be with that girl. And a little segue just to kind of continue talking about Christina.
So this is during that, like,
Correct.
Getting asked that all happened at the same time.
So like I'm getting asked to be a male
That's
stripper
nuts.
at Chippendales, and I'm going to mass, right?
Yeah,
so
here's your two paths. Frank.
Exactly.
Do you want to be the next Jersey Shore, or do you want to be, the man God wants you to be?
Exactly.
Basically.
Exactly. And that night that happened, I remember I went home and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do, what any guy does nowadays. I'm gonna shoot her a DM, right? Because I had her on Instagram. So I DM her and I say, hey, I know this is like totally random. It's been a minute, but just wanted to know if like you wanted to grab a drink sometime. Like I'd love to catch up and, hang out, whatever I said. And like 3 hours go by and she didn't answer. And I remember I'm thinking like, this is the longest 3 hours of my life. You know what I mean? And then I go to bed, and every night I was praying. Like I had a good prayer life, even though I was doing not so great things. You know what I mean? But I remember getting bedside next to my bed, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this prayer more sincere. And I said, you know what, Lord, like if she answers me, I really feel like this is it, but I just want your will to be done in my life. Like you please guide me. And again, this is the second time in this talk that I'm having like an example like that. And I kid you not, Rye, like in that moment, my phone vibrated and I didn't even look at it. I just looked up and I said, thank you. And then when I finished up my prayer, I looked at it and she said, yeah, like I'd love to get together. And that was it. Now a year and a half later, we ended up getting married and now we have 2 kids and all of that stuff. But as that was progressing, I know I'm jumping around a little bit here, but she, I had this opportunity and I knew that if I took it, this would be done, right? Mm-hmm. Like she's a devout Catholic girl. Like there's no way I'm coming back from going and partying in Vegas to be with her. And I didn't go to the callback. And after I didn't go to the callback, I remember I was in the Bronx because I was still working in medical device and my phone was blowing up and it was this girl. And I answer it, the woman from MTV, and I was just like, hey, like, I'm really sorry, like, I'm not interested. And she was like, Frankie, like, I know you didn't come to the callback, but I just want to let you know that Vinny and Paulie D are on this project, and they saw your tape, and they want you on this show. They don't want to do it if you're not on the show. And I was like, this is crazy, man. Like, this is like these guys were like literally my role models. If you find a picture of me in 7th grade, like I got the spiked hair like Paulie. You know what I mean? I had the blowout.
I could see that.
And thanks be to God, I just knew what was in front of me at that moment was not worth leaving. And I just respectfully declined. And I could not be happier that I did that because who knows where I'd be if I didn't do that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Man, that's so, I don't think heard it into that far of detail. That extra layer of temptation at the end there.
Yes.
Dude, so that's sick.
Yeah, man.
That is quite the story.
Yeah.
And you can tell it like that. That's awesome.
I appreciate that. It's funny, like reflecting on that because it's been a while since I've even thought of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like I feel like there's just so much stuff that happens, especially when you like have kids and stuff like
yeah.
that. You just don't remember these things.
So on that topic, this is something I was having a conversation with, I forget who it was exactly, but it was about how like they just had their first kid.
Yeah.
I was like, how's, Parenthood going? And they're just like, yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, yes, it is. And like time's just flying by and we're so busy. And I was like, yeah, it's like, cause when you're, obviously you're single, you get married, you still have downtime.
Yes.
Right. And, things are just moving along. But once you have a kid, right, like even beyond like the general tasks of parenting,
yes,
your mind never turns off.
No.
So it's like when you're working on something, right? Say you're like busy on a project and 2 hours fly by because you were just so engaged to it.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's what parenting is. And that's why life, I feel like it goes super fast.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, I call it the parenting vortex, right? Like weeks, months, years are just flying because your mind is constantly engaged in being a parent.
100%.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, I saw your story today of your boy, Roman, just in a year, like how much he's changed, right?
It's insane.
It's insane. It really is, especially at that age. Like my daughter, she just turned 2 and I see so much growth just this past year as well. But I think also, it's funny that you say that. It's like you get married and you have a lot going on, but then you have a kid and you're like, oh my gosh, like we had so much more downtime when we didn't have a kid. Then you have a second kid and you're like, wow, we had so much downtime with just having one kid. And I'm sure, as you just continue to have kids, you feel like that, right? So it always seems like you had so much more downtime with prior however many less kids that you had, right? So it's just funny how there's always still room to have downtime, even if you don't. But you're exactly right, man. Your mind, it just never turns off, And I think truly, like, being a parent is the greatest vocation of all time. And I will say this till I die. Like, if you are just getting out of college, you should not be focusing on being financially set. You should be focusing on finding your family and building your family, because I promise you the virtue that you get from having a family is going to make you a better person than any financially set job can. That's my personal opinion, and I know that for a fact. And when you establish a family, you gain responsibility. There's so much that comes into it. You now have other people that are leaning on you, that are responsible. You grow up significantly. And I think once you hit that curve of growing up and recognizing like who you are, the responsibilities that God has given you, all of a sudden your entire life changes. And every decision that you make becomes focused on, it's not a selfish decision, it's a selfless decision. And ultimately that's what love is, right? Like love, true love, and I talked about this on the Frankie D'Astoli show not too long ago, agape love is what it's called in Greek, right? It's a mutual self-giving that ends in self-recovery. So it's like you love your wife, right? Of course she loves you back. If you could get to this level of love where I am pouring myself out nonstop, you're pouring yourself out to your wife, and she's pouring herself out to you. If you simply pour yourself out and she doesn't pour it back, it ends in exhaustion. But if you continue to pour yourself out and she pours herself back out to you, it's this circle that just never ends, right? And it's you are giving all of you to her and she's giving all of herself to you. And because of that, you're being recovered and she's being recovered. And that's true love. And when you have that love, that absolute perfect agape love, and you pass it down to your children, now they experience heaven on earth in your marriage, which I think is so important. And that's why I really just think people should stop focusing on like making money and getting good jobs, and they should start focusing on like, finding a spouse and having a family. And of course, I'm not saying you can't not provide for your family. That's important. But I think that there's many ways to provide for your family that don't involve you having to be at a C-suite level in a corporate job, or for you to have, $100,000 in the bank before you could have a kid. That's my personal opinion.
Sure. And, we've, as a society, things have changed a lot, right? Like people, like our parents' generation live that, you know what I mean? And now we're seeing like, a lot of them got divorced, whatever, different times. And now it's like people aren't getting settled down until their late 30s.
Yes.
Right. And it's just, social media and all these different aspects of things. And we're in a very big, transformation point.
Yes.
And I think we've hit both extremes, right? One extreme being our parents' generation, other extreme being where we're at now.
Yep.
Right. Like, some of my friends are around 50 with kids under 5.
Yeah.
Or like having newborns at 50.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's got to be exhausting.
Yeah.
Like we're exhausted.
Sure. Yeah,
right. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So even at that level, so I think, it's definitely going to level back out. It should.
Yeah.
But
I think you're seeing a good trend too of people that do want to have families and want to have a good amount of kids. I do a lot of like research in regards to this topic because I find it very intriguing, and the birth rate has dropped significantly, and that is something that we need to keep an eye on because demographics are destiny, right? Like if we're not having a lot of kids and the birth rate is going down, ultimately that could be very problematic, right?
Well, that could cause, that's more of a threat to our extinction than overpopulation.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think the overpopulation thing and global warming and all this stuff, and that was being pushed on us for so long.
Yes.
That, now we could be potentially screwed.
Yeah.
And like you could do the math on it, right? And there's places that are struggling with this, right?
Yeah.
Like Japan, I think is one of the countries that had an issue
with overpopulation or underpopulation.
Yeah,
underpopulation. Like and I don't know everything about Japan, but I'm pretty sure they were limiting to like one child at one point.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were. And I think they're feeling it now.
Yeah.
So, obviously the childbirthing, us being men, it's easy for us to be like, yeah, I'll have 10 kids.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I do feel like people are starting to have more.
Yeah.
More, right?
I think there's a difference between like philosophy and theology, right? So like philosophy is more of a sense of, I believe that there's a higher power, right? Like that's something that a philosopher could understand, where a theologian, they more so take divine revelation of what Christ has said and they implement it into philosophy, right? Like philosophy is kind of like the handmaiden of theology is how like a lot of it is talked about. So if you really are a student of theology and you understand and to a degree that like, what's the purpose of marriage, right? The purpose of marriage is creating a union where both of you work to get each other to heaven. and at the same time you procreate and raise children in the faith, right? And again, I know I can get deep on faith stuff, so I hope your audience is okay with that for sure. But
it's actually very impressive.
Yeah, I
how
appreciate
well versed you are.
Dude,
and in a relative short period of time, right? You said you weren't this devout.
Yeah.
Until like 5 years ago or so, right?
Pretty much. I mean, when I started dating my wife, like I remember I was kind of like, yeah, like sometimes I go to mass on Sundays, and she was looking at me like, yo, this is a problem. Like we need to talk about that. Because again, her family was very
so
devout.
she pulled you more into
100%.
it. Okay.
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, like truly, like I feel like I've been saved by by God through my wife.
Shout out to Christina.
Shout out to Christina.
Hooked you up.
Yeah, 100%. Like there was a running joke in my wedding that like I went from going to DJs on Sundays to church on Sundays. You know what I mean? And that's all because of Christina for sure.
Yeah.
But it's very much of, if you believe that when you get married, the purpose of it is to get each other to heaven, to raise your kids in the faith, and to get them to heaven. It's very much in the sense of your whole mission becomes around that. You know what I mean?
Give you something to focus on.
Exactly.
Because most people, I think, just get married because that's the social norm.
Yeah.
And their parents want them to get married.
Right.
Yeah, like me and Connie, like we've been together almost 10 years now. We have a 7.5-year-old.
Yes.
We've only been married 3 years.
No doubt.
So we did things backwards.
Yes.
But, the challenges that we faced doing it that way, I think have made our bond together stronger than ever.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it wasn't the social norm to do it, but by the time we did get married, it came at the right time for us.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think on that point, I'm so sorry.
But that's it. Then no one tells you what else. You just get married.
Right.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Like I heard something recently and it was like, you need to date your wife.
Yeah.
So this is like a less descriptive way of kind of explaining what you are.
Yeah.
But like, I think people, once they get into a relationship, they're like, oh, we're married. They're not going anywhere. Like this is what it is now.
Yeah.
And people lack. But like, I've been trying to make a primary focus and like still like flirting with her and like trying to take her out on dates and do stuff. Obviously it's tough.
Yeah.
With the businesses, the kids, and at this period of time, but it is in the forefront of my mind to say,
100%.
keep that a big focal point.
Good.
But then with what you're saying, now it gives even more description. Like that's a more impactful way to frame that than just date your wife.
Right.
In a sense, right?
Yeah,
like there's an end goal.
100%. And I think what you're saying though is absolutely truth and accurate in both of those things. And I'll bring it back to how you kind of did some things in an unorthodox way from my point of view on it, right? Ultimately, this is something that's not talked about enough anymore, right? And I think when we look at school as a whole, and I can go down a whole rabbit hole, and I don't want to necessarily go too crazy on it all, but it's just like, what are we learning? What are we teaching, right? Like I graduated with a finance degree. It took me 6.5 hours to do my taxes on TurboTax before I started running my business, right? Like I gained nothing out of college basically. And again, to a degree, listen, I'll put it on myself as well. Was I the best student? No. But like, I feel like really like I didn't learn much in there, and I paid so much money to go there, of course, right? But what are things that like are absolute necessities, right? You're going to do your taxes. Everybody's got to do them, right? Home economics, I think, is one that's absolutely lost its way that should be brought back into schools in regards to how to actually, manage your house, how to do those things, how to buy a house, right? Everybody talks about the American dream of like, oh, I want to buy a house. Nobody teaches you how to buy a house, though, right? So it's like, how are we supposed to, figure that out? And then again, I think marriage too, like that is such an important factor that was held sacred, and up until the 1950s, like that's gone out the window and it's not talked about now. You're not necessarily supposed to focus on it. Social media doesn't help. Anything that, you could do on your iPhone doesn't help, right? There's so many things that are fighting against it. And because it's not talked about, you can't really blame people that don't really know how to go about doing it the way that it is either in the Bible or the way that they actually even want to do it, because they just adapt to what is the social norms at the time, right?
Correct.
So I think overall it's more of a point of view from a perspective of how do we actually get out, what's a good way to do this? What's maybe not a good way to do this? What's ways that certain people did this and what are their experiences like? There's no way to really get those things out there, if that all makes sense.
No, it does. Yeah, there's no playbook. Yeah. There's no playbook to that. There's no playbook to parenting. And it's all these things that contribute to much more than just that task. Yeah. Right? I think like our education system was created to produce factory workers. 100%. Which is nuts. Yeah. And that's why it's funny, I've been sitting down talking to a lot of entrepreneurs, and they always say like, I wasn't the best student. Well, you weren't the best student, and now you're successful because you weren't, I don't want to use the term like indoctrinated, but like you weren't complying and learning the ideologies that were pressed on you through the standard education system. Yes. Right? And that's why you're successful, because you didn't. You were told you didn't listen growing up. You didn't listen, and you figured it out on your own, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you're able to be creative and build and, contribute in other ways to society beyond just being a good task
100%. You know, I
follower.
was talking to my brother-in-law about this like 2 weekends ago, I think it was. My brother-in-law is a very, very smart guy, on his way to be very successful, resident at Penn for urology, like he's on track, and he's actually given me a lot of advice, which I've taken very valuable. But we were talking about this, because my nephew's 5 years old. I walk him to school every morning, and these young kids are sitting in a classroom for 8 hours, and they're just sitting down. They're not out. They're not experiencing anything. They're not, being hands-on with anything. It's just basically you're in here, you're learning, you have a certain amount of recess, you have lunch. It seems kind of like a prison, right? Like, and you look at it that way. So it's kind of like, to me, I'm very much in the mindset of like, me and my wife are homeschooling the kids. That's our mentality. Yes. And that's not necessarily saying to anybody that's sending their kids to school that they're necessarily doing the wrong thing. It's just from my perspective and what I'm looking at, I don't necessarily like what I'm seeing. And also my wife, thanks be to God, and the way I run my business, she is a stay-at-home mom. I know that's not easy for everybody. Sure. So she has the ability to do it. She loves to be with my kids anyway, and that's what she loves. So that's what we've determined. But at the end of the day, it's like, these kids, they need to be experiencing things hands-on. They need to get their energy out. I don't think it's necessarily right that they're just in a classroom all day, and that's how they're learned to be. And to me, it seems very replicable to be, I'm going to go to school. I have to get to school at this time. I can't be late. And when the bell rings, I'm released. And it feels very much like it's teeing up for a regular 9 to 5.
Kind of like a job.
Exactly. Right. And then there's such fear in leaving. Yeah, go ahead.
One thing, this is not a knock at teachers either. Because I know it is like a very selfless position. They don't get paid much, but it's just this system is very flawed. Yeah. And it just seems like it's a big task you probably have people fighting against it, but it's also a big task to overhaul. Yeah. Like who's going to take that on?
100%.
To think of a whole new education system and then teach teachers. And, I think now more than ever, we're going to see some kind of shift. Yeah. We have to. Yeah. Because I think everyone's waking up to the fact that like, hey, like this really isn't working anymore. Yeah. And I think there are a lot of teachers that like they care about the children. Yes. That's why they got into that
100%.
role, right?
Yes.
So it's like them and just the way knowledge is shared now through, the internet and social media and stuff like that, like in positive ways. Yes. I think we will eventually see that shift because I've never in my life heard so many people saying like, hey, we're going to homeschool our kids until like the last like 4 or 5 years, right? COVID kind of lit the fire. Sure. But now people are like, no, we're homeschooling. Yeah. So it's going to get to a point where like so many people are homeschooling. That's going to be hurting the school systems, and they're going to like have no choice but
and that's
transfer
the realities,
over.
Dude. That's the realities. That's the only way that it's actually going to get there is because if people are pulling their kids out of school and they're basically saying like, I'm not going to let you just like kind of implement your values into my kid. I'm going to keep that within my own, my own household. That's when you're going to start to see a shift. But until you're there, you're probably not going to see it. And I agree with your point. Teachers usually have no say in any of this stuff, right? They're genuinely doing it because they love what they do and they love the kids. It's what's coming from the higher up that's the teachers have no choice but to necessarily promote. Yeah. And again, I'm not saying that this is every school, right? There's so many good schools out there and all of that stuff. All I'm saying is I know that when kids are very, very young, right? And you know this, that is the molding period, right? That 0 to 10-year-old age, that is really where they're going to become the person that they are going to become, the values, where that comes from. Like I said in the very beginning of this, my parents put me in karate at 6 years old. That was the best thing they ever did for me because from 6 to that, I was doing it until 16 and then I started teaching classes there. I was instilled these values. And when you put your kids in the hands of somebody else, you are giving them over for that person to instill their values in your kid. And you need to be prepared for that. You need to be prepared and you need to understand who are you giving your kids to and who are you letting them instill, what kind of values are they instilling into your kids? And for me, when it comes to homeschooling, I know my wife's values. They align with mine. That's why we work well together. So when my kids are home, they're going to get continuous values from us poured into them until we feel like they're ready to step out and those values can be tested against the world. And that's a hard test. It's a hard test for where we are in the world.
Sure, it is. Yeah, now more than ever. And that's another thing, right? I think it's very easy to get caught up in your day in, day out and forget to pour back into your family. Yes. Right? Like I'll catch myself, like I'll get home, I'm like so tired. The kids want to play. I'm like, get off me. I just want to, but then it's like you said, like, those foundational values are instilled at an early age, and you know, you gotta do it because it means a lot.
Yeah.
But it, like, no one's telling you to focus on that stuff.
No.
You know what I mean?
I know. And again, we are in such a society that's very much work, work, work. You know what I mean? And even from our perspective, like, of course, we want to take our business to the next level. Of course, we want to do some unbelievable things in regards to that. But the biggest business that we work on is our family. It's the one that's going to be the most long-lived. It's the one that truly will carry an impact into the world, right? And again, big businesses that bring a lot of value to the world, of course, right? But, you know, our kids, it's our responsibility to be there for them, to raise them up, to do those things. But again, man, I'm with you there. It's hard sometimes, right? Like, you know, even what was it this morning? I think Bernadette was like, oh, can we play hide and seek? And I'm just like, we'll do it tonight.
Yeah.
But I know by the time I get out of here and by the time I get home, like, you know, I might not even be home. She's probably going to be getting ready for bed. But, you know, it's not always easy. And I think the biggest thing too is, like, parents, they make mistakes, right? We make mistakes. We're not perfect, right? But it's that continuing to show up for your kids. It's not necessarily about being perfect. It's about being present. And we got to try to continue to strive for that, for sure.
Yeah, you made a post about that the other day, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that, and it made me think. I was like, it's like, yeah. Like, I put my phone away. Actually, I just got this thing. It's called, like, the brick or whatever. Do you ever get spammed that on social media?
No.
So, like, you know how you can put, like, an app lock or,
Yes.
like, a time limit on, like, Instagram, whatever. This is, like, a physical lock.
Interesting.
So it's an app you download. You put what apps you want to lock out at a certain time.
Okay.
You put it somewhere inconvenient, you say, if, like, in your car or your house or something. And then you tap that, and it locks all the apps out, and you can't use them until you physically go and tap it again.
Wow.
So I didn't start using it yet, but I did get that to try to, like, my focus right now is, like, I'm realizing how important it is, like, those small moments of being present with the kids. And, like, I'm going to set it up that basically once I'm home, like, I don't care. It can wait till tomorrow.
100%.
Like, there's nothing on social media I need to scroll. There's no YouTube video I need to watch, like, past, like, 6, 7 o'clock at night.
Dude, that's awesome.
You know what I mean?
So basically, if I'm understanding this right, you pull up to the house.
Yes.
You tap your phone on this thing, let's just say,
Mm-hmm.
and from that moment, it locks it. So then you walk into your house and it's locked.
Correct.
Got you. And then basically the next morning, after you do your fam time in the morning, wherever the case might be, and you go to leave for work, you go back in your car, you tap it, and it unlocks.
Yeah. Like, I'm gonna like, I'm thinking about, like, putting it in, like, my garage or somewhere. Like, somewhere real inconvenient.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's freezing out right now.
I'm not gonna want to go out there. 100%. No, that's smart. So, set up the barriers.
But yeah, man. So look into it, and like, obviously, I don't have a promotion with them.
Sure. What is this called? Brick?
It's called Brick.
Brick.
Yeah.
Sponsor my boy real fast. He's out here promoting it. He hasn't even used it yet, but he's
6
promoting
episodes in. I need some sponsors here. But yeah, man. So it's cool. Something to look into. You know, if you were trying to focus on being more present with your family, that's a little thing that I'm going to try out
100%.
For that, because, like, it's easy to overlook.
Yeah.
It's very easy to overlook. The mind wants to go of, like, the path of least resistance at all times.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? That's not good.
You end up in a death scroll where you're just scrolling.
Oh my God.
Scrolling, dude. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I've definitely been there. I feel like a lot of times, like, I go through ebbs and flows, right? And I think for me, a big part of it is, like, my schedule. Like, if my schedule is good and I'm sticking to my schedule, then I find myself being more present. It's when I go against my schedule that I am kind of, like, out of sync, if that makes sense. So, like, if I do what I need to do in the morning and I get my stuff done, I know for a fact that I could be more present in the evening. It's when I messed up there. I think, honestly, for me, it's like starting the morning is the most key part.
So you're pretty regimented.
Yes.
Correct? Like, you get
Try to be, at least, yeah.
Yeah, as much as humanly possible, right? So, like, do you want to go through that? Because I think a lot of people could gain something from hearing about morning routines, hearing about, like, using a calendar. Like, I actually was on a call the other night in a mastermind group with the owner of, it's called Poke House.
Okay.
It's one of the largest poke, like that, like, like
poke
sushi
bowls.
bowl, poke bowls. Like, that's, like, a pretty saturated market. This guy has the biggest poke business in the nation, right? And he talked about, like, how he was able to do that through systems and all this stuff. But one thing he said is he puts everything on his calendar.
No doubt.
Everything, to like the smallest thing, like walking the dog.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about anxieties of being a business owner, and then also the value of time blocking. So, like, right now, like, I'm trying to, not trying to, I gotta stop saying trying. I am implementing the habit of adding stuff to my calendar, even if it seems mundane.
Yes.
Just so, one, it's out of my mind. 2, I see it and I can get it done.
Yep.
And then later on the night, I have more time to be present.
100%.
But like, so you are very strict with your calendar, right?
Yeah,
Like,
for the most part. I mean, I think as entrepreneurs, there's a blessing and a curse, right? The blessing is you're your own boss, right? So you don't have anybody to answer to, which is awesome. You get to kind of create your own schedule. But that's also a curse to a degree because of how free and flexible you can be, it's very easy to, kind of use that as a lever to like not do certain things and to do them later, right? And for me, it's like with my family. Like I run my business because I like to spend time with my family. That's really why I do it. I've hired people to do certain parts of my business to spend time with my family. So if you look at my calendar, most of my calendar is filled with family time because that's what I enjoy doing, right? I have set times for certain things, but at the same time, I sometimes will prioritize it too much to a degree where I know that there's certain things that need to get done in business, but I maybe have some sort of plans that I planned with my family or whatever the case might be, and then I need to kind of go back and readjust. So again, all I'm saying is my calendar is not perfect, but I think
rigid,
it's
it's a solid guideline.
For sure. It's a guideline. I think the biggest thing though is the morning routine. Like that is what, if I hit that, I'm golden. So I have a 4:15 wake up, which has gotten earlier and earlier, truthfully. Like originally it was like 5:30, and then at one point it was like 5, and then I was like, you know what? Like my kids are up mad early, dude. Like especially my son, he really takes after me. Like the kid's up at like 5:30, 5:40 in the morning. So I'm like, I need to be up at like 4:15 to get like a good hour of doing things before I get this day rocking, right? So I wake up at 4:15. I do the cold shower. Shout out Exodus 90. When I started doing that, I never went back. I go right to the double espresso, the doppio, right? And that like locks me in. It keeps me engaged. I then do, at this current time, what my regimen is about 15 minutes of silent prayer. And then I go into about 45 minutes of reading. And really my block there for that 45 minutes to an hour, typically whenever the kids wake up, is more of a creative hour space. So if I want to read and take some of that and use it in my pod or use it for content purposes or use it just to have for whatever I want to build with it, I'll do that. If I'm kind of more so trying to work on something for Rosary and real estate or the dojo or whatever the case might be, I'll use that. So it's kind of like a free hour, but I know that if I take that hour and I get my creativeness out, because that's when I'm at my most creative level. Yeah.
That's wild, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. 100%.
There's something about like the calmness of no one else is up.
Yes.
And your brain's there's like something chemically going on at between like 3 and 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
That like ideas pop into your head and you're like, you would have never.
100%.
Yeah.
Dude, my best ideas happen early in the morning and late at night before going to bed. And that's always tough. Like I'll remember like I'll be like laying down and I'll have like this idea and it's just like, gotta grab my phone, gotta put it in my notes. Like, you know what I mean? And then there's been certain times at night where like I'm writing like full game plans of how I'm going to attack a Rosary and real estate webinar or whatever the case might be, or like, a system, an SOP for D&D, whatever it might be. It's weird, but like, I feel like as an entrepreneur, you build schedules to try to capture those moments, but a lot of those are kind of, they happen and you need to be flexible enough to like take note of it. You know what I mean? So, but the morning routine, man, that creative hour for me or whatever that hour might be for anybody, right? I think is really important. And then I know once the kids wake up, cool, I'm dedicating the next hour and a half to just being around for the morning. And then I'll kick off work and I have somewhat of a schedule throughout the day as well in regards to how I mix things up. But I think a big thing in regards to schedules is a lot of people, they'll venture into a schedule and they'll say like, all right, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it in perpetuity. I don't necessarily do that. I act as if my schedule is like I'm going on deployment in the military. That's how I operate. So I'll say actually today, December 8th, as we're recording this, was the last day of a 33-day schedule that I put in place for that 4:15 wake up. Now I'm going to continue to do it. But I know that for me, like those 33 days is like I'm hardcore in those 33 days. Now, right now, if I decide tomorrow that I'm going to sleep till 6, I'm not going to be super hard on myself. I won't like it because it's going to throw off my schedule.
You have like an end. You put like an end goal to keep you engaged.
I do.
Yes. Ooh, I like that.
Because if I don't, then it's going to kind of feel like this is never ending.
Sure.
And it's not necessarily so much that like you should look at your schedule as like, oh, this is mundane or this is tedious or this is, very like tumultuous and it's really hard, but more so like I know like, all right, if I'm going to enter into this 4:15 wake up and I'm going to do this type of prayer routine and I'm going to do this creative hour and I'm going to have these things going on, I'm going to set a period of time that I'm going to do this for. And here's a beautiful thing. The reason why I do like whether it's 33 days or I do 40 days or 90 days for Exodus 90 is it usually takes 4 weeks to build a habit, like a good habit. So now that I've done this for 33 days, this is my habit now. And now I'm doing it not necessarily because I'm on deployment, as I call it, but because I like the way it makes me feel and that I've gotten a lot out of it. You know what I mean? So now, again, if I decide I'm going to sleep in one day or something like that, I'm not going to be super hard on myself because I'm not quote unquote on deployment like I call it. But I know that, like, all right, if I'm going to build in a schedule and I want this schedule to be effective, I'm going to put certain dates on it and I'm going to act as if I'm like in the military and I'm getting things done.
No shit.
Yeah, that's how I do it. And I'm not a military guy, you know what I mean?
No,
I guess
frat
doing
boy.
karate and stuff. Frat boy. There you go. Frat boy. Yeah,
I think the martial arts definitely, you know, anyone I speak to that has a martial arts background, like discipline, like it's just second nature to them.
Yes.
Like it's just embedded into their, you know, their virtues.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like so how you lay that out, it actually helps me because like forever I would wake up 4:30 at the gym 5.
I see you. I see
right?
you on IG.
Like religiously.
Yep.
But I made that it's a habit, it's a positive habit, but my sleep, I was not sleeping.
Yeah.
Like I basically run off like 3-4 hours of sleep. Right. And then I got this the Whoop band. I'm a sucker for like gadgets and technology. But I got the Whoop band. And so after you wear this for a certain amount of days, it tells you your age based off your metrics of health. Right. Like they're all different layers. And dude, mine said I was 4 years older biologically, like showing biologically 4 years older.
Wow.
And then it breaks down for you. And it's like the biggest thing was sleep. It's like, bro, you do not sleep. Your body has not rested like whatsoever in God knows how many years.
Yes.
Right. So the last like month or so, I'm still working out. I try to like work it into like the day somewhere, but I've been trying to focus on like bed a little earlier, sleeping a little later. Try to at least get like 6 hours, something like that. And I feel like I have more energy. Definitely feel like I have more energy. I've noticed like my workouts might not be intense, but like I feel like the extra recovery, you know what I mean? I definitely noticed the change. My damn Whoop band still tell me I'm 40 years old. So
how old are you?
I'm 36.
Are you 36?
I'm 35.
Okay.
I'll be 36 on Friday.
Wow.
So
happy early birthday.
Thanks, man. So I'll be 36. But yeah, a 4-year. And like I could just like chalk it up as like, yeah, it's off. But like I have boys that have it and they're younger on it, or they're like at their age, and I'm looking at them and like some of their habits, and I'm like looking at my habits. I'm like, all right, so.
Well, I know you also haven't been drinking, right?
So yeah, I went 60 days.
Outstanding.
Yesterday, I did had a cocktail.
Yep.
So my wife is in the process of opening her own salon.
Outstanding.
And yeah, it's awesome.
I saw some stuff that you were posting about that. That's awesome, man.
Very excited for her. She's gonna do great. She just like has inherently like a business mindset.
Yeah, she is a hustler.
She's a hustler.
Truly,
she's a beast. Yes, in like the best way possible.
Yeah.
So like seeing her lean into what she already has a natural knack for, it's like been awesome. So we went, helped her with a couple of things around the salon yesterday. We're doing some renovations. And afterwards, we got brunch.
Yep.
And I was like, I made it 60 days, like no alcohol, no nicotine. And I kind of had like a celebratory drink with her, you know, like to her accomplishments of, you know.
Dude, but I think just on that real fast, like I think that's awesome because I think like, and again, not to say like I necessarily had any extreme addictions for anything along these lines, and not saying that you were addicted to alcohol or anything along those lines, but I think when you go on a venture of sobriety of something, right? And you know, have, you know, your 60 days or your 90 days or your 3 years or whatever it is, that's awesome. But I think it needs to be more of an identity of who you've become, right? So if you go 60 days and you have a cocktail, but then you are able to chalk it up, it's just like, hey, I had a cocktail and tomorrow I'm not going to drink, and the next day I probably won't drink, and I'm just going to keep going.
Sure.
Now you've changed as a person, right? Your identity is different. You're not someone who necessarily is leaning on alcohol to help you have a good time or something along those lines. You're someone who just has alcohol to supplement a good time that maybe you're already having.
Correct.
Right? So for me, from hearing that, it's like, cool, you went 60 days, your wife did something awesome. You celebrated the good time by having a drink. But you didn't base your good time off that drink. And if you're basing your good time off of alcohol, weed, cocaine, or any of those other objects, that's when it's a problem, right? Because you don't need those things to have a good time. So for me, hearing that, dude, it's like awesome. Like,
yeah, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, because like to touch on that a little bit, like I grew up, like where I grew up, like everyone, that's what you do. You just drink, you party. Like everyone gets done work Friday, they get hammered from Friday to Sunday. And like being a partier was a big part of my identity for a long time.
Yeah.
So a couple years ago, like right before we got married, like I was drinking to a point where like it was bad, like every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like still like dabbling in cocaine and shit like that on the weekends. And like just for no good reason, just because like that's what
you were doing.
You do. That's just what life is, you know, or I thought life was. So I took like a year and a half off, and I feel like that really helped me take the partying. Like I didn't need it. Like I'm pretty social. Like I don't need a drink. I don't need to have a drink to be out.
100%.
And I realized that then.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I can still be out and be social and not be a drunk idiot. So like I made that, I think that big character shift back then.
Yeah.
But I still think like I have that in me. That's there.
You
that
know
party
what it is,
animal.
100%.
So I have to keep it suppressed.
Yeah.
And like people are like, oh, you're not drinking? I'm like, no, I'm not fucking drinking. Like, no, because if I did, you'd be like, tomorrow you'd be like, oh, you got so drunk last night. Why did you do like, you know, you can't win.
100%.
But I feel like people, you know, like they know that they probably shouldn't be drinking as much as they do.
Yes.
So when they bring it up to you when you're not drinking, it's like they're projecting upon you.
Yes.
Right. So like I've definitely made the separation. Like I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like it's someone telling me to have a drink, like I don't fucking care. Like, I'm not listening to you.
Yep.
You know, but I think it's good that for me specifically, like I like to challenge myself. Right. I like to like it wasn't hard, but it wasn't easy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because I do enjoy like having a drink with my wife.
Sure.
And then like celebrating certain moments.
Yes.
You know, like the holidays, it's nice to drink wine and stuff like that. So like I think going into this span, I was like, I'm just gonna take some time off.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it's gonna be.
Yep.
You know, it could be a month, could be 2, a year, whatever. I'm just gonna go how I feel. And I just didn't like how I felt that not that like I was constrained by something, but like I just feel like I didn't need to set such tough barriers on myself and put like an added layer of stress to
this past 60 days.
This past 60 days. Yeah, like I just didn't like I didn't really like I went out late one night.
Yep.
With the boys, which I probably shouldn't have. You know what I mean? But I like it was almost like I was punishing myself, and I feel like I didn't need to punish myself as hard as I was. I don't know, it's weird. But like I just felt like, you know, if I want to have a glass of wine with my mom,
yes,
I shouldn't be like, oh, I'm like nothing against other people.
Right.
And if that works for you, that works for you. But like I didn't feel like I needed to be like,
yes,
oh, like I'm not gonna have a glass of wine with my mom and then like be at Harris Chester
right.
45 minutes later, or like, you know, like
putting it all on red.
Yeah, like crash my car. And
yes,
like, you know what I mean? So
I think first and foremost, I appreciate you sharing the backstory with me. By the way, I think you know who you are and what you know what's inside you, and I think for a lot of people, it's like. If that is the case where they're like hanging out with their mom and they know a glass of wine, they might take them over the edge, right? Like one glass of wine for somebody could be different versus, you know, what you're capable of, what I'm capable of, to be able to have something and not have it. So I think a lot of it all depends on like who you are and what you know your limitations are, right?
Correct.
But yeah, man, it's
I think that's more so it.
Yeah.
It's like I don't need to completely cut this out. Like I'm strong enough as a person that I can keep control of it.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, like, I did grow up, like, I grew up with a father that was a very bad addict. So I saw, like, what could happen. Yeah. And it's like, that is always in the front of my mind.
Yes.
Right. Especially now having kids. Yeah. Like, this dude was never around because he'd rather be partying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would never want my kids to experience that.
100%.
Right. So that's another thing. Like, I'm like, the whole, like, drinking specifically, even though my dad, I've probably never seen him drunk before.
Wow.
Yeah,
so it was like
nuts.
that. So it was addicted,
it was
but
nuts.
you've never seen it.
No. Oh, no. He just wasn't a drinker. He was more of like, he liked to smoke like meth and stuff.
Gotcha.
And like crack. I don't know. Whatever.
The hard stuff.
Yeah, the hard. He just went right for it. Man.
Oh, I'm sorry, dude. Yeah.
But good guy, but just bad issues. So like, I think about that a lot. Yeah. And I do see like people bringing it up to me. They're like, oh yeah, like, you know, I'm going to quit drinking like after New Year's. It's like, why? Yeah. Why like, you're just lying to yourself, bro. Yes. Like you might have a little bit of an addiction issue and you're just masking it by events. Yeah. So, but yeah, like I'll put that out there if anyone wants to bullshit about, you know, talking about their addictions with alcohol or whatever. Like I'm not sober, but like I can try to maybe give you some clarity on it.
Dude, there was I forgot who the saint is, but he had a really good quote that I heard. I was like, wow, that's a pretty crazy quote. He said, it's easier to raise someone from the dead than it is to get rid of an addiction. And I think when you think about that, right, obviously raising someone from the dead, that's Christ does it, right? Like this is really challenging, obviously.
One guy that can do
but
that.
It just shows the emphasis on addiction and how it could take hold of some people, right? And I think everyone is addicted to something on some level that they don't even recognize that they are, right? Whether that's entrepreneurship, as being addicted to, buying houses, starting businesses, going after it, whatever the case might be, there's an addiction level there. Whether it's someone who's addicted to doom scrolling on TikTok, but they don't necessarily recognize it, right? Or it's addicted to alcohol or whatever the case might be. I think everyone has something that they maybe don't necessarily realize that they can't necessarily live without to a degree.
Sure.
And this is why I love Exodus 90. I'm going to bring it back to Exodus 90. And I'm not sponsored by Exodus 90. I promise you that. But it strips you, right? Like it really does. It's like, yo, I'm going to have to get rid of all of these things. And here's the thing, man. It's like everybody that does E90, they all have something that's hard. So like for me, the cold showers, I didn't mind it, right? The black coffee, didn't really mind it. For me, it was more of the music. Like are
you big on music?
Now I'm not as much, but like back then, I was listening to Drake,
that's another thing.
Kid Leroy, all of those things, right? Like it was hard.
Let's touch upon that for a second. So one thing I feel like addictions are definitely like we're all filled with energy, and it's like energy displacement, and where we feel like that energy feels best used.
Yes.
And that's where it goes.
Yep.
But to talk about the music thing, so it's the time of the year where everyone puts up their Spotify Wrapped.
Yes.
It drives it. So like I try not to judge, or I do dumb stuff too. And like I don't want to be like I'm like pointing fingers at people. But like everyone's very obsessed with music.
Yeah.
Right. And I get it. It's a vibe, it's an energy. But like I feel like there's a really overindulgence in it.
Yeah.
Because like you're using a lot of your time for it. And like my Wrapped. Like I looked at it.
Yep.
I listened to 20 some books last year. I think it was 23 books I listened to.
That's outstanding.
So like, do I want to listen to I love Drake, but do I want to listen to the same Drake album I've been listening to since 2013
right.
that's already like solidified in my mind?
Yeah.
Or do I want to take that time and like download new ideas?
Yeah.
Right. And I think if more people like just had that perspective,
yes,
like things would be a lot different.
Yeah.
But like I'm not like knocking music or musicians or like it's all good, but like how many times you got to hear the same song?
Yeah.
Right, like
well, I think
you could gain so much more just like doing something.
100%. It's a mental block. I think the way that people feel sometimes when they could put on an album like the 2013 Nothing Was the Same album or whatever it is, right? I don't know which one you were listening to.
I think it was More Life, maybe.
More
Life.
Like
2017.
2017, More Life.
All of them,
right?
Yeah.
Passion Fruit, whatever it is. You put this on and it's just like you kind of go into like a sync mode of just like what's going on. It's just it's your brain is able to kind of turn off to a degree.
Sure.
Because it's so repeatable, recognizable, you kind of go into almost a flow state, but not a good flow state. Whereas you put on a book, an audio book, now you need to be attentive. And that's not an easy thing for people to do. Working your mind is more harder than working your body, right? And I think once you unlock how to work your mind, and you do it strategically, and you know when your mind's tired and when it is in its best creative state, like we were talking about before, that's when you start unlocking new dimensions, and then you continue to chase the learning, right? So I think for a lot of people, it's just the fact that they haven't unlocked it yet, but when they do, like you did, you read the 23 audio books, now you're like, I can't imagine going back and just listening to the Drake album on repeat. It's like, I've read all these books, I just want to continue to have new ideas. And it's getting to that level that's hard, but when people get there, it's a new like realm of what they're experiencing, right? And I think Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time, great book. I think he talks about in his book of like having no wasted time, and he says like I'm not going to listen to music that I've already listened to. I'm just going to listen to a podcast where I could pull new ideas from or something like that.
Is that in that book?
I'm pretty sure. I'm 99% sure. But I want to say maybe 90% because it's been a few months since I read it. But I'm pretty sure it's in that book that he touches on that. If it's not in that book, it's got to be in that book because it's definitely not in.
I did read that book.
Yeah.
But I feel like that, I don't know. I've been taking in a lot of different information.
A lot of info. Yeah.
That's another thing. It's hard to retain stuff.
Yes.
But I feel like it does come back once you hear it.
Yep.
Right.
I think that's
But yeah, no wasted time.
No wasted time.
And that's something that I don't think people think about.
Yeah.
At all because it's hard.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's the thing. I think, you have a job and you work so hard at that job for most people, right? Or, you have your job, you have your social life, you have X, Y, and Z things going on. Music is a way to tune out of those things and just fall into
it's an escape. In a sense.
To a degree. Yeah, 100%. And again, Exodus 90 gets you out of the enslavements, you know what I'm saying?
Dude, you keep bringing it up. I might have to do it. Connie gets mad at me when I get crazy into these like 75 hard or any kind of, you know what I mean?
It's a commitment for the wife as well. And Exodus 90 talks about that. Like they say, like, have conversations with your wife about it.
Mm-hmm.
The purpose of it is to bring you to a higher degree of fatherhood, husbandhood, and follower of Christ, right? So if it's in any way straining one of those three things, you need to dial it back. So for instance, like, no meat on Wednesdays and Fridays. That's a conversation that you need to have with your wife beforehand. Like, hey, I can't eat meat on these days.
Yeah, I don't want to be disrespectful if you cook
Exactly.
something, but this is what it is.
And E90 talks about it's like, if your wife cooks something, eat it. Don't say no to it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
But listen, like, ultimately, you want to. It needs to be based on the fact that you're going to be a better husband and father from doing it.
Yeah, so they got like there's a
There's
goal.
skin in the game for it as well.
There's a reward
Exactly.
at the end, right?
100%.
You know what I mean? There's something for them in it as well.
Yes. But yeah, man.
And I feel like that's most of the reason, like, we try to do stuff like that, right? Like, I'm just trying to be a better person, not for myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For me, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for them. Yes. But I think it's hard. It can easily be portrayed as being selfish.
Yes.
Right? Than being for them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't give a shit. I don't need to really be in shape. Yeah. But if my kid wants to, like, start playing sports, like, I don't want to be this fat dad that's like, I'm like out of breath or something like that. Or, my wife wants to get into hiking or something. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta be ready to be there for them.
For sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
I think it's always good to, check your ego. You know what I mean? Like, Ryan Holiday wrote a book, Obstacle is the Way, and he wrote another book, Ego is the Enemy. I haven't read the Ego is the Enemy book. Have you read that one yet?
I have not, no, but Obstacle is the Way is very good. That was one of the first books I read, I think, once I got into reading. Like, it's on the list of, like, top 10 self-help books or whatever. But he actually has another thing. It's like a daily devotional. It's
the dad one, right?
He's got the dad one, but there was the precursor to it.
Okay.
And I would read that every single day for like a year and a half straight.
No doubt.
I forget what it's called at the moment. This is a few years back, but it was really good because it was just like little clips of like stoicism.
Yeah.
Or the Daily Stoic. That's what it was called.
Why do I feel like
Daily Stoic.
I might have that one too. I might not have necessarily opened it though, to be totally honest with you.
So it's pretty good, but you're already like reading scripture. Yeah. Right. So like you're getting some of that, like, not to say Stoic. It's different religion and stoicism, but you're getting grounded.
It's philosophy, though. It all comes back to that, right?
Correct.
It's
you're
like,
getting grounded in
exactly. Even Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, who else is on there? Cicero. Like, these guys, like, the way they think all forms into theology in regards to how Christ taught and what the saints say and all of that stuff too. It very much flows within itself. There's a lot, as I said, it's like the handmaiden theology, and then you have philosophy. Like, there's a good flow between both of them.
Sure. Yeah, it's crazy how relative everything is. Like, if you're going through something, so was some dude back in Rome 2,000 some years ago. And to think of it like that is just like, when you deal with issues, especially like, you're an entrepreneur. Yeah. I'm like a half an entrepreneur, right? I still have my day job.
Dude, you're still an entrepreneur though.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the definition of an entrepreneur? Doesn't mean you have to leave your job.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Actually, it's even worse because it's just like more time.
But see, this is seasons. This is seasons, dude.
Yeah.
Seasons of life,
Yeah. But yeah, so it's funny, like, you think it's like the world's ending. Yeah. But like literally, like, so did some dude. Yeah. 2,000 years ago. 100%. So to read things like that and have that peace of mind that, like, all right, it's gonna be all right.
Yes.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And actually, you just hooked me up with a little Christmas present. You got me my first study Bible, man.
Yes, sir.
Dude, I thank you for that.
I appreciate that.
I've definitely, actually, since we've met too, right, I have, swayed more into, like, certain things have happened. I'm like, there's no way, like, this just coincidentally line up that way. Yes. And it all kind of started to flow, like, similar to what you said, like, when I kind of, like, I'll take my hands off the wheel. Yes, sir. I believe that this is going to work out with, the right guidance from above. And let's see how it goes. Yes. And it's been working. Yeah. But then the second I tense up and I start, then, like, stuff, you get off path. Yeah. So, like, I'm, looking forward to what more I can learn from that Bible. Because right now I feel like I do, like, the daily prayer app. I think it's the Bible app. And then for some reason, I guess, like, from the book of Mark, for some reason that really resonates with me.
The Gospel of Mark you're talking about.
Yes, the Gospel of Mark. Yeah. I guess it's just, like, about, like, a transformational part of your life and how, like, things don't have to be perfect. They're not going to be perfect. Yes. But that's what I guess, like, God's looking for. Yeah. Is somebody that, like, is resilient and that isn't scared to mess shit up and, or not, you know what I mean?
I got you.
And then, like, repair.
Yeah.
And
I mean, listen, it's like the Gospel of Mark's great. Is that your first Gospel that you're reading?
like I said, like I just
Pick up where the devotions are. Where they come up.
yeah. I'll pick them up in the devotions, and I have started to read it like because you can open it up and within like the app. So, but yeah, that's the first one that's like really reined me in.
Yes.
And then I'm doing the Action Bible. With Mila.
Yeah.
So it's like
that's the comic one, right?
The Action Bible is awesome. If you want to get your kids into learning about the Bible, it's actually like I'm intrigued by it.
That's awesome.
So
I got to look into it too.
I'll send you one.
Yeah, please.
Okay,
please.
I got you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, man. Listen, I think you're gonna get a lot out of that. It's a very in-depth Bible, but it breaks things down. And again, I listened to Bible in the Year from Father Mike Schmitz. I think that's great. If you're into audio, like he breaks things down really, really well. And I did that. It was in like 2023 or something like that. And I fell in love with certain characters in the Bible. One of my favorite was King David, Old Testament, because he wasn't perfect. But like you see a way that if you open yourself up and you surrender to God, he could work through you. And David was notorious for that, right? And I think one of the big things is obviously David versus Goliath, right? He's this little shepherd boy with a sling and a rock, and Goliath is this huge soldier. But he went up to Goliath and was like, yo, you're talking bad about God, my God. I'm going to body you and God's going to work through me. And it happened. And it's when you let yourself go. And just throughout his entire life, he has more examples of this where anytime he would make a decision, he would pray about it first. And I reflect on that too. I'm like, how many decisions do I make a day? I make a bunch of decisions a day. How many of those do I bring to God and say, hey, is this the right path? Like, is this what you're calling me to do? Should I do this or should I do this? And honestly, man, I don't do that enough. Like that's an area that personally, maybe in this, next, kind of coming months, that'll be a focal point of mine. But when you read the Bible and you get these stories and you understand it, it's like you realize that Christ came into this world through brokenness. Everything leading up to him was brokenness. And if you start from the very beginning, obviously with Adam and Eve, but all these patriarchs that have come, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, it all leads to brokenness. David, brokenness, and Christ comes and he fulfills within that brokenness. And we're not called to be perfect. Now, as Christ says, be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. That's the bar. Perfection is the bar. You can't necessarily just say, I'm a good person, I'm going to go to heaven, or I'm a good person, I deserve X, Y, and Z. Christ was the greatest person that ever lived. Second to him, the greatest creature is his mother. She watched him die on a cross. He got crucified. No one's not going to have no trouble through life. I didn't explain that right there, but you know what I'm trying to say.
No, it makes
Everybody's
sense.
going to go through stuff.
Sure.
Having Christ and knowing your faith and having yourself, as you said, kind of let go of the wheel, lift it up, surrender it to him, it brings peace. And I think in today's world, that's an area that we don't have enough of. Everybody lives in a noisy environment. We need to be active. We need to control outcomes. When you let go and you literally let God into your life, you find peace. And again, it's not going to change certain circumstances. Somebody's sick, they might still be sick. Things might happen. You might lose your job. You might be struggling financially. But if you just pour yourself out and let, Christ work through that, let the Holy Spirit work through that, give yourself over, it brings fulfillment. And that's what we're really called to do,
Yeah. Yeah, I saw another thing and it said like also because like it all ties into like, being a better person.
Yeah.
Right? You're not being a good person, whatever, but being a better person. And it was like, I guess like more geared towards entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And it was like, people feel guilty about striving to make more. But it was basically phrased like, you're doing a disservice to God by not living to your full potential.
Yes, sir.
And with that, like, I read or heard that, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Because like, you come from, I'm sure, humble beginnings.
Sure.
As do I. And like, sometimes I feel like the stuff that maybe I'm pushing for might be like, you feel guilty, right? You want the house, you want this, you want that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But it's like you're doing a disservice to God by not striving to be the best version of yourself that could potentially yield you stuff over here.
Yes.
But like you don't get this kind of stuff until you are deserving of it.
Right. And I think that's important that you hit on there, right? It's like, it's not bad to want a bigger house. It's not bad to want a nice car, but you need to know where your heart stands in regards to those things, right? It's like, am I going to be happy if I don't have that house or if I don't have that car? If I'm saying to myself, I'm not going to be happy if I don't have those things, then I'm not fully with Christ, right? If I'm saying like, hey, I want a big house, which believe me, I do. I want land. My wife and I, we want land. we don't want to necessarily have to see anybody unless we want to see anybody, right? Like that's how we want to be. We like isolation, but at the same time, we like to be social as well. Like I'm a social person, but she's very introverted. And when I'm home, like I like to just be with them, you know what I mean? So I want a big house. I want land, all of those things. But I also understand that everything is fading, right? It's like, again, to quote scripture, vanity, vanity, vanity. Everything is vanity. What's it going to lead to, right? It's like, it brings me back to like buying houses. It's like when I closed on my first house hack in 2022, it was like, this is the craziest feeling ever, man. Like I'm a real estate investor. I could finally like officially say I own property. Close on our 39th and it's like sick. Like, okay, like I'm running behind. Like I need to go to look at another house. Like as I'm signing on the closing, right? There's no necessarily like it's not the same. And the reason that is because it's fading happiness. It's not necessarily there. It's all it ends, right? It's the means to an end. So regardless of what it is, that house, that car, it's not bad to want those things. Sin is when you take pleasure and you twist it, right? So if it's like I want the house because I know that it's going to make me happy and I know that I'm going to be able to flex on my friends, that's a problem.
That's not it.
Exactly. It's like if I want the house because I'm working hard and I'm doing my thing and, you know, I'm growing my family and we need a bigger place to live and, you know, it'd be nice to have this land and I could, you know, have some good times with my family. Like those are all noble feelings, right? It's not a bad thing. And to your point about like doing your best and by not doing it, you're doing a disservice to God 100%. There's, I don't remember the verse on that, but Christ talks about like the talents of like people that like don't necessarily do the full that they can do. And he's upset by that, right? So whatever your talent is, that God-given talent, you are called to utilize it in a positive way. And the last thing I'll say on that, because I know I'm tangenting on this, but I just love
Nah, it's good, dude.
I love it.
That's why I had you on here, bro.
I appreciate that,
I like hearing this stuff.
I think when money comes to people, it's going to either make that person who's already a good person a better person, or it's going to make that person who's not a good person a worse person. And what I mean by that is if you are, let's just say you make $100 and you take $10 of that and you donate to charity, right? You go out and you make $100,000, you're going to take $10,000 of that, you're going to donate to charity, right? Or maybe you're going to take more and you're going to donate to charity. If you make $100 and you don't donate any of it and you make $100,000, you're probably not going to donate any of it, right? So money is just an emphasizer of the person that you are. And that's, again, why I say don't necessarily chase financial stability or financial freedom right out of college. Chase a family because a family teaches you selfishness.
Purpose.
And if you learn that selfishness or that selflessness, right? You're that dying to self feeling. When you are, you know, blessed with wealth or whatever the case might be, you know how to handle it a lot better. I think that's important.
Yeah, it's big. Yeah, man, that was a pretty deep breakdown, but I think it was one that people definitely need to hear.
No doubt,
because it's very easy to overlook.
Yeah,
but it's reassuring because sometimes, like, you know, when you're in the thick of it, like obviously, like, yeah, I do want to touch on like the business you
yeah.
Steve have built, but like I said earlier, like with the drinking thing, when you're not drinking, people are like, oh, you know, like they're projecting on you. But when you're also building success or building something, you get negativity from people. Yeah. And it's either because they love you and they're scared for you to get hurt, or it's because they're like just being haters, I guess. Right? So like it's hard to block certain things out. Yeah. And especially if you're someone like us. Yeah. Like, you know, we probably take to heart what people say to us, especially people we love. Yeah. And it weighs on us. And we're 100%. Like, oh shit, you know, my bad. Like, I thought I was doing the right thing. So hearing success and, you know, being the best version of yourself and creating wealth, like being framed as a positive and like doing God justice, it's a nice focal point. Yeah. Or like something to come back to, like to block out noise. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, it's centering.
Yeah, centering, yes. Yeah. And now, since we're on this topic, and I don't want to hold you too long.
What are we at on time? Just curious.
I think we're at, I think that is 5. We're probably at 1 hour and 20 minutes right
I'm fine,
now.
man. I'm chilling.
Good?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it, so just keep rocking.
Yeah, awesome.
Whatever you want,
yeah. Yeah, so, like, this isn't a real estate-specific podcast. Yeah. This is more like I just talk to interesting people, and I think it's got to, these things can people benefit from. Yep. But, dude, let's talk about what you and Steve have built. Yeah. Let's touch on that, and then let's wrap up with hearing a little bit more about Rare.
Cool. Sounds good.
You know, we've talked about it sparingly.
Yes.
But I would like to be brought up to speed with what, you know, we're repping right here.
100%. Yeah, you look great in that app, by the way.
Dude, thank you. Yeah. This is nice quality.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, it's fresh.
But so like D&D Well, you do your thing. You know
Sure.
what you're saying. You don't know if you want to talk about the dojo and the coaching.
Yeah. So Steve and I, we bought our first property. I know Steve. I sold Steve a triplex in 2021. It's one of the best deals he ever bought, even though he'll say it's not. Right? It's one of the best deals he ever bought.
Hold on. Before we get into this.
Yeah.
So you are hands down, you're one of the first people I met in like the sales realm.
Yeah.
That is very good at sales, but is also like a very good person. Right? Like you got that one deal. Devin actually just called me. It was that one deal that you guys did with Devin. I hooked you out with on 20. That ended up being like your biggest fucking nightmare house you've
It was
ever
one of them.
done.
I wouldn't say it was my biggest, but it was maybe top three.
So my bad for putting that on you. But that's what one of the, like, we just met. You know, you told me you're looking for a house in Chester.
Yes.
Boom. The next day I got your house. I found your house in Chester.
It was pretty
right?
automatic.
Like boom.
It was auto.
And we're talking with the tenant, and just to see the way that you can use words to get to a goal, but do it like right. Mm-hmm. I was so blown away by it because like I talk a lot, right? My wife would call me a yapper. I'm a yapper. I'm a yapper, and I'm working on. I'm trying to get have my words carry more weight and be a little bit more like thoughtful of what I'm saying. Yeah. But it was the first time I've seen something like, because I've been in real estate for a while, like real estate sales and this stuff, and I'm just kind of like cut and dry. I'm like, yeah, this is the house. It's nice.
Sure.
You should buy it.
I mean, you've been successful doing it that way.
This house sucks. Don't buy it.
Yeah.
But you were like, yeah, you just, it was so fluent. You went through like what would be a sales pitch, but it wasn't a pitch. Like you were just being honest with this lady, telling her what it was, what you guys were going to do, the tenant, what you're going to do, how you're going to help you. Because that was an issue for the seller, was like the tenant being there.
Yes.
Dude, you like won that tenant over in like 5 minutes. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I think especially when you're buying tenant occupied properties, like the tenants, they get worried, and rightfully so. And for me, it's like if I am in a situation where I need to displace a tenant and I need to do it fast, I'm not going to buy the house, because I really try my absolute best to like keep a moral compass throughout investing in real estate, which occasionally can be challenging because at the end of the day, it's a business, right? You need to run it as a business. I'm not saying don't treat it as a business. But ultimately, I very much have found in my time of sales is when you approach things as a team effort, the outcome is significantly better. So for instance, if I'm talking direct to seller and I want to get them to sign a deal with me, I might not necessarily be able to offer the highest price on certain things, but if I could approach it as a team, then I know that I have a better angle here, because I think in real estate, especially off-market real estate, people don't understand the process a lot, and that's very daunting to them. So the trust factor is really important. So building that trust is number one. And ultimately for the tenant, like I don't want her to make my life challenging. And at the same time, I want her to know that like, I'm not going to just leave her out to dry. Sure. So having a conversation with her before I even buy the house of, hey, like, this is what my plan is. This is what I want to do. They appreciate that. They respect that. And when I do eventually take over the house, there is more of a, there's a lot more easier communication. There's more of just fluidity within our relationship, which is very important. Yes. It ended up being a little challenging with her. So it went really, really well. And she was living in a 3-bedroom and she was paying well below market, right? And the place was very crazy with like 7 cats in there and all of that stuff. But ultimately, she was very cool. We were like, hey, we have a 2-bedroom that's coming up right around the corner. You could literally see it from her house. Like if you're standing on a porch, you can see where the 2-bedroom was. And we were like, it would be ready by end of December. So it's about a year ago. And she ends up like walking the property, like right when we finish it. And there was like a crack in the window that she was like, that's a bullet hole. And she totally got like freaked out. I don't know if it was totally really a bullet hole. I'm not putting it past, because I'll be honest about where I invest. Like, we do our houses really nice, but there are areas where things go down. And that was one of those blocks. Now, it was kind of interesting because she was kind of like, that area is really bad. But at the same time, like I said, if you stand on her porch, you could see it. You could see it from her porch, right? So you would think she would kind of know that. But long story short, this ends up happening. That's like December. January rolls around and she's like not paying rent. So she was paying rent for like a few months. Things seemed really, really well. Then she's like not necessarily paying rent in January. And she says that she finds a place that she's going to be ready to move in February. Well, that ends up like not playing out. So we have to file an eviction. And again, there's hard things.
Was that your first eviction?
That was, I've had to file maybe 2 before that. Okay. But this is the one that only went fully through. So the other 2 that I filed.
I hooked you up with the learning lesson.
Yes, you did. 100%, bro. It was actually a very valuable lesson for me. The other two that I filed, I went to city court with, and I won in city court. And because they were yearly leases, they had a pay to stay option. So they had 10 days to make the payment, or I could figure out a payment arrangement with them. So I was able to do that stuff, and that was fine.
Sure.
And it ended up working out. But this one, I won in city court, and she owed, it wasn't a lot. She was paying like $900 a month. So it was like 3 months missed. It was $2,700 or whatever that was. And I basically was just going for possession. I was like, she was on a month to month. So I was like, I don't even necessarily want the money, the $2,700. I'm not going to take it from her. I strictly need the house back because we need to refi this loan by June. And this was in like May. We need to do a full reno on this house. It might've been beginning of July that we needed to do the refi because we were coming up on term and I didn't want to pay more money to extend the loan. So I was saying to the judge, was like, I need to get this money. I need to get this renovated and get it refinanced so I could pay back my lender who's now on me about getting the money back.
Sure.
So I just need possession. I don't want the money from her. She could keep it. I just want the house back. I win in city court, but then she goes and appeals it. And when it appeals it, it gets kicked up to Delaware County. So now I have to wait 30 days and then I go, right? So that actually, I lied. That court date was like in March.
Okay.
And then my court date in Delaware County was in beginning of May that it was.
So you're cutting it close.
Cutting it close because I think the loan was due like maybe beginning middle July. And I have to get an attorney for Delaware County. I can't go represent myself. So I get an attorney and we meet there and basically, she said her piece, which was, I walked in this house and had a bullet hole in it. She was really dying on that hill. I was kind of like, I don't really get it, but like, okay, like you still could have paid rent even if there was a bullet hole in there, or we could have figured something out, but it is what it is. And my attorney said some stuff and then it ended up settling where she had 30 days to leave. So it worked out in my favor. It was really good. Didn't charge her for any of the back rent. I wasn't coming after her for any money. It was kind of what it was. And then she had to be out. It might have been June 1st that she had to be out, I think it was. Yeah, because my brother-in-law was like his second or third day interning with me. And we go, and she's in her way of like moving things out. And me and my brother-in-law straight up pull up our sleeves, and my boy Steve came out, and we start moving her out. We're moving her out. Get her out.
Let me help you.
Now, here's the craziest thing. She had 7 cats. 3 of them were still in the house. Couldn't find them.
Yo, that's nuts.
Yeah.
We bought a house earlier this year, and the lady at settlement was like, oh, yeah, by the way, there's cats in there. Bro.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're in the drywall or where they're at, but they might. I don't like, dude.
You didn't see them.
Did not see them. There was a turtle. She didn't tell me. I found a turtle.
Gosh, man.
Turtle was cool.
That's crazy.
Someone took that, but
it's just crazy. I talked about that story a little bit on Instagram, and people were up in arms. They were so tight with this lady because they were like, "How could she just leave her cats in there?" It's crazy. And dude, to be honest with you, one of them died in the basement.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it literally looked like it got like rocked by the hot water tank. Like, I don't know, man. It was one of the scariest things I've ever seen. I went down there and it was like just dead, but it looked like it was kind of melted. It was sick, man. I don't know. It was really some crazy stuff.
That's a shame.
But yeah, long story short. So, in business, man, you try to like stick to ethics, try to do everything that you possibly can. So at least when you can go to sleep at night, you could say like, hey, like I did everything that I could to try to help these people in these situations. And it doesn't always work out that way. Like I've had multiple tenants where they refuse to take the help and you have no choice but to go and evict. And you try to do everything you possibly can. But yeah, so on that note, I appreciate that deal. It was a great deal. It's still a great deal for me. We bird out of it. We have great rent on it. So it worked out really well. I
was worried.
I learned a lot in that. No, truthfully, I learned a lot in that process that is really, really helpful for everything that I do now to know that stuff. So it was really good. Yeah.
Yeah. So I keep cutting you off, but
no worries. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just really excited to catch up with you.
100%.
So you and Steve, right? Yes. Formed D&D Acquisitions.
Yes.
What, a little over a year ago?
April 2024, we bought our first house. Yeah.
And now you're at 40.
Over 40 units. Yeah. It's
over
like 37
units, man.
houses, something like that. Yeah.
Dude, that's wild.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about, like, obviously this is like a kind of like a Delaware County podcast. So like, people understand Chester.
Cool. Yeah.
But dude, I think Chester, like you look at Chester on a map, like it's kind of a sick location.
Yeah.
Delaware, Philly, Jersey, all right there. It's central, waterfront property.
Yes.
It's a shame that it's plagued by, violence and, low income and, it's a tough place right now, but dude, it could eventually be like, we've seen worse neighborhoods get gentrified.
Yes.
Well, maybe not worse, but on par once in Philly and stuff. So
I think a lot of it, man, depends on the leadership in the city. And the more that I'm around it, I'm tight with a few people that are involved in like the council and stuff like that and good dudes and stuff. But a lot of it is just there's no like true leadership to gentrify it. Now, That doesn't mean that there's no true leadership to make it better, right? Because there definitely is. And I know that this past summer in Chester, from what I've seen report-wise, I think there was only one homicide, which is the lowest that it's ever been.
Wow.
Since like the 60s or whatever
Sure,
the case might
yeah.
be. So that's really encouraging to see. But at the same time, and I want to preface that, there's been like certain issues with like people dying and there's been like gang activity, but I think it was like there was no like no like non-gang homicide type situation. You know what I mean? If anybody was involved in anything, it was like gang on gang type stuff. And again, I want to understand this, like, I come from this, right? Like when I jumped into real estate investing with my other job, I was running in Kensington. I was running in Strawberry Mansion. Like I am used to this. If you're not used to that type of environment, it's very daunting to invest in a place like Chester or
Like
other
straight
specific
pit
areas.
bulls.
Exactly.
Remember
Yeah.
that? The one day you had to drive me around a pit bull.
Yes. Yeah. That was at that property.
property,
Yeah. So, you know, but that's like, you know, and I'm not saying that like I want to be here forever, but
Sure.
I also understand that, you know, to quote Warren Buffett a little bit, where people are fearful, be greedy, and where people are greedy, be fearful.
Sure.
You know, it's opened up an opportunity for us to scale, and that's what I appreciate of it. And because of that, we've now opened up opportunities to do things in other areas that maybe the barrier to entry would have been a little harder to get into. But because now we have this portfolio to leverage and do other things, now we're able to do that. So, and all that to say, yeah, maybe it will gentrify. Maybe it will while Steve and I are alive. But if not, we don't necessarily have any plans to sell it. So hopefully, you know, my kids inherit it and, you know, his family inherits it and then, you know, it maybe gentrifies for them or whatever the case might be. But I think a lot of it has to do with leadership in regards to whether they allow it to gentrify or not.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That's the bottleneck.
Exactly. I think that's really where the bottleneck hits. So we'll see. We'll see if it happens during our time or not. But again, I don't necessarily buy for the fact of hoping it gentrifies. I buy because the deal makes sense. It's going to cash flow for me and I can burr out of it.
And you have like a very repeatable system.
Yeah.
Right. I've heard you talk before, like these are your numbers.
Yes.
You stick to these numbers.
Yes.
You did do like a flip this year.
Yes.
Right. And you said that kind of was you guys
Got a
straying.
little wild.
You got a little wild and you
wild.
strayed. Maybe that was a lesson too, you know?
Yep.
Keep the path. But dude, 40 units in you know, under 2 years.
Yeah.
It's really nuts. And to see that you're doing that and you're still a family guy.
Yeah.
Right? Like that is very impressive.
I appreciate it.
Do you want to touch on like maybe some of the, like I've been trying to get people to talk about the finer details.
Yes.
So like when someone that listens to this, you know, like, you know, you can go on YouTube and learn about Burr and figure out the 70 minus 70 RV minus.
Minus repairs.
But like what's some things that you do that we haven't discussed to this point that allow you guys to operate the way you do? Like you said, you meet hires.
Yes.
So that's something I'm struggling with right now, right? Because we got the, you know, Justin, Ashley, and I, like we have the laundromats.
Yep.
The revenue, we're just starting paying ourselves a little bit.
Yep.
Like there's some tasks that like are probably over what if I would divide it down, my hour or dollars per hour would be. Like, yeah, like I shouldn't be doing some minuscule things I do.
Right.
Right. Like I could probably pass these tasks off, but there's no money yet.
Yes.
And I'm really having a hard time struggling with like just ripping the Band-Aid off, maybe delaying paying myself, putting somebody in place or another system in place that would eventually aid. Like I'm the bottleneck of my own business right now.
That's what happens.
And like, dude, it is so hard to get past that.
Yes.
So like now that's something you've done, right? You've hired and
pretty fast we did, and I'm thankful for that. I think the big question that you need to ask yourself if you're going to hire somebody is what are you trading that time that you gain for, right? So it's like if you have some minuscule things that are going to happen at the laundromat and it's going to take 2 hours of your day on a Thursday afternoon or something like that, and you want to hire that out, what are you then going to do with those hours? That's the most critical question. If you're going to not do anything with them, or, you know, you're going to go play golf, which, you know, I'm terrible at golf, but I like it. Things along those lines. There needs to be some reasoning behind doing it.
Okay.
So it's like, if you are going to take away those hours from doing those minuscule tasks at the laundromat, and you're going to hire that, and for those 2 hours, you're going to go and you're going to cold call other laundromats. That's valuable, right?
Okay.
Because now you're supplementing it with something that could generate revenue. So from a business perspective, that's important. Now, there's also a business perspective that necessarily doesn't equate to revenue that you want to look at as well. So if those 2 hours on a Saturday, let's just call it a Saturday, is taking away from time with family or time for you to be creative or something along those lines, maybe something that doesn't generate revenue, but betters you. And because you operate better, you generate more revenue in the tasks that you then do afterwards. There's still a factor there. So it all depends for me. If I'm going to hire somebody, there's two things that I really focus on. Number one is I'm hiring to buy back my time, shout out Dan Martell, to fill that with certain things that I know that are either going to generate revenue or are going to make me a better leader so that I could coach and bring my team up to a higher level so that they generate more revenue. That's one tier to it. The second tier is I personally like to hire based off commission. I don't give anyone that works for me a salary. Everybody's commissioned. Because of that, I don't have much overhead, right? If someone's not necessarily panning out, it's not necessarily even that I need to fire that person. I just can bring somebody else on to work in their space to a degree. Now, thankfully, I haven't had to do that. The people that work, with me and for me are people that I know that ultimately enjoy working for me because of the environment that they're working in, right? So and I think that's very important. And this is a hard thing to get to, and that's not me trying to boast of the fact that I'm at this point because it's still not perfect. But if you are able to recruit people who are more so bought into you than to what they're going to get out of it, that tends to be something that you could really utilize to grow your business. The people that have come on to work for Steve and I, they know us, they respect us. One of them is Eddie, he was my second ever student in the dojo.
Remember when you guys met?
Yeah, we met at the event,
South
the Delco
Jersey
event.
No.
Well,
So you guys met at the South Jersey real estate thing. You were a speaker the one night.
So that's
it was
correct.
the same night we met. And,
yes.
Eddie was like, yeah, I'm from Sharon Hill. I'm like, bro, wait, I'm from Delco too. He's like, I want to get it. I was like, talk to Frank.
Yes. So I actually met Eddie and his boy Akon at an event the month prior, which was a dig meetup, which is a Delco type meetup or wherever, PA meetup. But I invited him out because I was speaking at South Jersey Real Estate.
So that's why.
So that was the second time that he kind of met me. But we kind of had a little bit of a relationship. But it was still brand new. I was just getting to know Eddie. And Akon and Eddie were my first two students in the dojo. So I taught Eddie. And then he came. I asked if he wanted to work for me in D&D. And he came on, and from working with me in D&D, he's wholesaled multiple deals with us, and he's bought his first house hack. And I think when you buy into people's future, they're going to work harder for you.
For sure.
Right? And if you show that you care, that they're not just someone who's here to do a task for you. Now that's where there's kind of a dichotomy with everything, right? So it's like, you buy into their future, you work to build them up, you're doing all of this stuff, but at the same time, certain things need to get done. And this is something that truthfully in this moment, like I'm feeling right now, love my team. Sometimes I feel like I look at it a little bit more as like we're all friends, whereas it needs to be, hey, we're all friends, but we all have to hold each other accountable.
Sure.
Right? And I think, just this quarter, and again, usually during the holidays, things get a little bit slower, but we're having a down quarter. There's a lot to pull from that. And I think a big part to pull from that is just we've taken our foot off the gas a little bit. I think we got a little too comfortable. So that's kind of an obstacle. But this is how it goes, man. Like, it's like, there's some amazing things that happen, and then it's like, oh, this is really, really fun. Oh, snap, look at all these other things that are down here that we need to now address, right? It's constant up and down.
It's a roller coaster.
Yeah. But it's fun, you don't want to do anything else.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to hiring, I would say that I look for
so it's not replacing the task specifically. It's you're looking at the person, and will they fit into what you're building?
Yes, if it's going to be a long-term hire, right?
Yes.
If you have, again, like a couple hours to do something.
Yeah, I think right now I'm like sweat equitying in a sense, and I'm chalking it up as that. Like, I don't know if you ever met like my buddy Michael Ho.
I have not, no.
So Mike's like, he's building out a pretty big business right now, and he's just like I'll be talking to him or one of the other guys in my mastermind group, and like, why are you doing this task? And it's like, well, at this point, I kind of feel like I have to, in a sense. Like, this is what I signed up for. This is, I'm learning. You know what I mean? I'm learning, each little troubleshooting issue or dealing with a customer.
Yes.
Right. So I'm kind of chalking it up for that. So maybe that's part of my motivation more than financially pulling the trigger on a hire.
Sure.
But I feel like to take things to where I want to be, like it's a necessity.
Yeah.
So.
And I think you're on the right track in thinking that. However, I will just say, I don't think what you're doing is bad. And the reason that is because if you're going to be a good leader, you need to be able to tell people about a task that you've also done, right? I think one of the worst positions in leadership, and I felt this with my old job when I was on my way out, is people come into a role and they tell other people below them how to do a role that they've never experienced.
Correct.
So it's like, and Jocko says this really good. I read a book from him, Leadership Strategies and Tactics. Great book, very digestible, kind of like a bunch of different lessons within the book. And he talks about like picking up brass is what he calls it. And it's like the leader, when they would do practice rounds or whatever the case, practice operations, there were like fake brass bullets like in the grass, and everybody would have to pick those up. They couldn't like go the day without having every single one picked up. So he would say like, I would go and pick up with people at times. And, when you're a leader that's done a task, you have credibility to say to your coworker, your worker, whatever the case might be, hey, I've done this. Here's what I experienced. Here's why I think you should do it this way. And then when they're not doing it the right way, you have the ability to correct them to do it the right way. Because if you're not doing it that way, if you haven't done that task, then they're going to give pushback. And you have a level of respect when you've come from it and when you've done it. And I think that's why me having my wholesale background, having done that, having done what it takes to generate revenue and to do certain things, when I give a directive on something in regards to wholesaling, it carries water. If I've never done that, then it's not going to carry much water, right? It's like you're an on-market real estate agent. I had a license, right? I still do. It's somewhere in the abyss somewhere right now. But like, I can't come to you and be like, hey, like this is how you should list a property. Like I have no idea how to do that, right? So even if I'm in a position that's higher up than you, my word doesn't have much credibility.
Yeah.
So you doing these, whether they're monotonous or they're just tedious or they're just sweat equity tasks, as you called them, it's not a bad thing. Now, there comes a point where you need to address, hey, is this taking away from more potential revenue? And if the answer to that is yes, then yeah, you should hire that out.
That's the
and
point.
If you're at that point, then good. That's now you should start thinking about it.
I got to reread that book.
Yeah. Buy back your time. Yeah.
I think I listened to it.
Yeah.
I think I'll listen to it and like breeze through the reading. I've been noticing when I do that, it does stick. But like when I read now, I got to take notes.
Yeah, 100%.
I got to write, and that's when the thought really gets solidified.
Yeah, that's why it takes me so much longer to read a book now, because like, I'm constantly like underlining things and I'm writing things down.
So you're not reading; we're studying.
Yeah, that's
we're
right.
Studying
100%.
books. That's the framing.
Yeah.
Then on top of all this, you've started Rosary and real estate, right?
Yes.
So you're combining two passions into one to basically like help people in both avenues, faith and financial. It's pretty awesome. You want to touch on that?
Yeah, I think, we all try to strive for generational wealth. That's a big reason why we're in it. When another focal point is spiritual poverty. And what that really means is that's the offset of, building wealth, right? Spiritual poverty is, if I had nothing, but I have Christ, I have everything, right? And I think it's a great time with Christmas coming up. We look at the nativity scene and you see that, Mary and Joseph are in a manger, right? They're not in the nice, comfortable inn that there was no room in, right?
Yeah.
But, Christ is born and they have everything in that moment. There's nothing more that they could ever possibly need. And I think we're building this portfolio, we're buying these houses, we're doing all of these things, but like, again, it's not lasting, right? The houses, they're going to get run down. We are going to get older. We don't, that stuff is not, we can't take it with us, right? The spiritual poverty keeps us grounded. That's what I really want to mesh. I want to mesh those two things. It's not bad to chase generational wealth. We're going to do it. We're going to go, we're going to use real estate as our engine for sure. But we need to build and grow in spiritual poverty. And even more so than passing down generational wealth, we need to pass down generational faith. And I think we're in a society right now where faith is not talked about. Being a Christian is like something that's like not a good thing to talk about. And the realities are, it's just that's stopped in some point in the generations where we need to continue to pass that down and say like, listen, your faith is everything, right? You can be happy with no houses. You could be happy with 100 houses if you have faith. But if you don't have faith and you don't have any houses, you might not be happy.
Sure.
Right? There's ways to look at that. And I think within Rosary and Real Estate, this community, it's totally a free community, by the way. Like
free.
It's totally free.
You can do free communities on school?
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
So like, and every webinar that I hold one once a month. I do a coffee hour every single Friday morning. I call it Doppio Deals and Dogma. I'm drinking my double espresso. We talk about deals. We talk about Catholic dogma or, whatever you want to talk about. It's not necessarily, you don't have to be Catholic to join the group. You don't even have to be Christian to join the group. It's more so if you want to grow in spiritual poverty and you want to grow in generational wealth and you're open-minded to, Christian theology.
That's awesome that you're have that open in policy. Because I feel like it's the only thing with religion. Some people think it's like gate kept.
Yeah.
And, could be, turn them off from it.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Then.
Yeah. And I think, again, it's free. Like I'm never going to charge anyone to come on because it's not my place to do so. I think this is more of my giving back type project. I feel very called by this. I was praying a rosary when I thought about this idea. So I feel that it's very inspired by, Mary. It's inspired by the Holy Spirit. And I think, my goal is to really get people in the mindset of passing down generational faith. Like that needs to be the number one. And to throw it back to like the 12th century, because I read a lot about this stuff, they used to put in their wills rosaries, like an actual rosary that you would pray with.
Like a family
heirloom. It was an heirloom because that's how much they valued faith, right? That's how much it was valued. And that's the level that I want to get to. I want to put, a large portfolio into, my family will for sure, but I also want to put these, faithful things that help me grow in virtue in that will. And that's that passing down of generational faith. And when you see your kids start to take shape in it, man, I've had a few people in Rosary and real estate ask me like, how do I bring faith into my family? And it's not, again, as much as I want to say like, bring your kids to mass because I know the power of the mass. It's the little things that you do that your kids pick up on, right? Saying a prayer before dinner, before you eat, excuse me. Just, every time before I leave the house or before bed, when my kids go to bed, I make the sign of the cross over their forehead. The other night, Bernadette did it on her baby doll. My 2-year-old daughter's doing it. And it's those moments that you realize like what you're passing down, what you're instilling in your kids is more valuable than any asset you could pass down to them. And there's nothing more important than getting your family to heaven. And I think we need to make that a focal point, truly, because that's why I think a lot of problems are happening. So again, just to put a cap on it, in Rosary and real estate, these are all things we talk about. We talk about investing in real estate. The next webinar, I don't know when this is dropping.
So what's today? Today's the 8th. It'll drop by, it's the 15th. Next, it'll be next Tuesday. Okay. Usually it takes like 7 days. I've been dropping them like Monday, Tuesday.
Cool.
So a week delay, but yeah. So when's your next meeting?
So for that, it'll be in January. There's probably actually going to be 2 in January, but you could go to rosaryandrealestate.com. If you go to that, and you could join the Rosary and real estate community from there, the school page, it's totally free. Like I mentioned.
Yeah, I'll see if I'll put the school link in the description.
Yep. And then we have one, I think it's January 22nd. We actually have a guest speaker on that, which is the first time I've ever done a guest speaker. So I'm excited about that. But the talk on that is Cardinal Virtues and Virtual Real Estate Investing. Mike Scarpa is going to be the guest speaker on that one. Oh, Mike. Yes, yeah. And then I'm probably going to do another one, maybe even before that, beginning of January. Usually I'd like to rhyme my stuff. So like the December one is the birth strategy and the birth of Jesus Christ, right? Like we talk about those two things. And it's broken up. Half of it is real estate, half of it is faith, and we pray a group rosary at the end, but that is not a obligation. If anybody doesn't feel comfortable praying, I never force anybody to pray. It's always just if you want to do it. Yeah.
You do have the knack for taking two topics, tying them together, but also making them rhyme. Like when I scroll your podcast, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, and you're like, as it says in the description, I'm like, damn, I think how's he? Like, I feel you have that's one of the people you hired. Yeah, you have like a writer.
I've just always been good at that.
I'm always just mind blown. But maybe that ties into like the whole television thing.
Yeah.
Dude, I still see TV in your future, but maybe for a different reason.
We'll see, man.
Than clubbing and.
Yes.
And cannolis and Chippendales outfits.
100%,
even though the ladies probably would have wanted to see that, but they're gonna get a different version.
Yeah, 100%. Now it'll be just start a family, go buy real estate. Those will be the topics.
Yeah, it's simple, man. But that's the stuff that I think people need to hear.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely gotten lost in the noise of current society.
And I think and I don't want to go way too over, but I just think social media has been, as of everything, this iPhone here, like it's good and it's bad.
Correct.
It's like there's so much valuable things that you could obtain. There's so much information now that's at your fingertips. But at the same time, I think it's bad, and I think it's actually ironic that it's an apple, which very much relates to the Book of Genesis, where Adam and Eve went to the tree of knowledge and bit the apple, right? So I think it's quite interesting how that ties, because look at all the knowledge that's at your fingertips now. But look at also how bad it could be.
Correct.
Right? So I think in regards to social media, in regards to, kind of having to put on this front of the lifestyle that you live, we need to look inward and just really focus on, building out the good qualities of ourselves within ourselves. And that's where true happiness is going to come from. It's not posting and doing all this stuff. Now I'm active on social, right? Like, of course, but that's more so to, establish the brand, promote the brand, and push a message that I think needs to be heard.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. You're using it in a positive way.
Yeah.
So I touched upon this a little bit last episode, 2 episodes ago, with my buddy Dusko.
Okay. Yes.
Dusko's like he's not no frills. Like he doesn't like to do the social media thing. He does it because he has businesses that require him to.
Yes.
But he was one of the first people that was like, dude, you can take your algorithm and like change it to be productive for you, right? He's like, my Twitter like is all business.
Interesting.
And then, like, so like he's a very bright guy, but like he utilizes that as a tool that most people don't.
Yeah.
And it is there, but like you said, that temptation is there too.
Yeah.
And it is very hard to decipher and to stray and to keep it. But like anything else in life, you can work at it.
Yeah.
If you can't, then you got to try to limit it.
Yeah.
But there's always room for improvement.
100%.
So
know thyself.
Yeah.
Know yourself.
That's the main thing. So
yep.
This is just another thing to add to the list of why it's even more important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like you could take yourself out of reality through your phone. And
yeah.
Now there's literally virtual reality, right?
It's
like it's getting scary. It's getting scary stuff, man.
Like people were scared when email came out. I'm pretty sure. So like maybe like but I think this whole AI thing and technology, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
If you start to think about where things could go.
Yeah.
Obviously you want to be optimistic and if it could create some kind of utopia for people that don't have to do like, strenuous jobs that they do now, and it can be replaced by robots and technology and stuff like that'd be awesome. But scary.
It's scary.
It's scary.
And I another book that I read, Outwitting the Devil, Napoleon Hill. You ever read that book before?
I've listened to
the audio. I heard is good.
The audio, because it has the devil's voice and his voice, and it is pretty insane.
Yeah.
And it's good.
So when AI first really launched, I very much like pulled to this book and was like, I remember Napoleon Hill was talking about with the devil this form of like what's called drifting, the devil would call it, where he basically over time is making you not use your mind, and that it's been a little while since I've thought about this, just us having this conversation kind of re-sparked this in my mind. But again, AI, your phone, all these tech things can be used for good, and there's so many things. Again, being in business, how to elevate your business by doing certain things, being able to let's say, hey, AI, look at this receipt of mine, tell me where I spent all this money so I can put it in my spreadsheet. That's a tedious task that like can easily be replaced using AI. But I think it's there's that fine line of like, don't let it necessarily think for you, because then that caps creativity, right? So, and eventually you might become so lenient on it that you're literally asking it basically any question of how to go about doing anything in life, and now you're treating it almost like an idol, right? And I think that's
and if you haven't noticed that all these AI things, they're yes men. They're like, yeah,
I have not noticed that. They make you feel good.
They make you feel good, and guess what? That's not by design. So I didn't realize that. Anytime so now, after hearing that, every time I use ChatGPT, and like I say, like I try not to use it for minuscule tasks.
Yeah,
I try to use it for more complex ones.
Sure.
Or like just something I would Google, like technically that I can pull this up.
Yeah.
Save me some time. Stuff like that. But like I'm trying not to use it for like emails and basic stuff and captions on Instagram and whatever, and topics for my podcast.
Yes.
But yeah, man, it's a yes, man. Yeah. So every time you're sitting there and you're talking to it and you're like, oh yeah, it's like, you're doing great. Your mind, it's stroking your ego, and then you're even more enslaved by it.
Wow. I never really realized that too, but you're absolutely right. And the few times that I've plugged some stuff in, it is very much like that. It's very much like, and it almost, what I feel like one time I was like, thank you so much. Like I'm like talking to a person. Yeah. And it's not the case, right? It's pretty,
I still say thank you just in case like a Terminator scenario is realistic. It's like,
Geller was cool. He was a nice guy.
This one was very polite to us before we,
That's crazy. That's crazy to even think that that's like actually a possible thought, right? It's really wild, man. You just, dude, it's nuts. It's wild, nuts. Man. It's crazy times we're living in. It's crazy. Sure. Yeah.
It's cool, I guess, But like, I try to like frame it like everything's been crazy.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. It's always been. But
yeah,
man. All right. Well, dude, I know you're a busy guy, and it's probably a good leg to leave it on.
Dude, I think it was awesome.
But,
I very much appreciate you having me on, man.
Dude,
like I said,
thank you for coming on.
I don't have too many guests on my pod per se. I do like kind of just like a little office thing where I talk about a topic.
Bro, the way you can run just a self-ran podcast and have it like, dude, you can listen to your podcast. Like, I love it.
I appreciate you, man.
Like,
Thank you.
It's just the way you can talk and stay on topic, and You got a natural knack for it. Obviously, you put the work in.
Yeah.
But like, bro, it's really good.
Sometimes
like, I
it
could
doesn't
not
feel
imagine.
Yeah.
I couldn't sit here for 20 minutes. I probably could, but it wouldn't be interesting.
It would be interesting, bro.
Dude,
Don't sell yourself
I don't
short
think
on
people
that,
want
man.
to hear what's going on up there.
You got to get into a
Unguided.
groove. That's what it is, though, dude. Like, the groove is important. Momentum is key. So, like, if I haven't pod in, like, a month or so, because I've had those breaks, getting back into it's really hard. It's usually like if I'm podcasting, in Rosary Real Estate, I do a lot of courses too. And those courses are within Rosary Real Estate. And there's like, I did a 21-day challenge on the Rosary. We're doing a 25-day Advent challenge right now. So I'm podcasting every day, even if they're only 10-minute episodes.
Okay.
That there's a lot of fluidity, right? So like even just coming on this mic right now, like, it's a little bit more different because I'm actually conversing where like I'm used to more so just talking about a topic in front of my camera and stuff like that. But when you get into a groove, it's more, like I said, that flow state kind of hits, So I wouldn't sell yourself short, Geller. I think if you get into that groove, you can
speak more positivity. I'm definitely getting better, right? Like talking in front of the cameras and stuff.
When I texted you when I listened to the episode, I was like, dude, you're a natural.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that sincerely. Like,
Appreciate
the way you ask questions, the way you flow it's cool. And your pod is it's casual convo, which I like. You know what I mean? It's like you really get to kind of understand somebody when you're listening to it.
Correct.
Yeah.
I feel like just like even like personally, like I don't like being interviewed.
Yeah.
Or like questioned about stuff, even something I know about.
Yeah.
It's just the way things are worded, like it can throw you off, or you're so focused on that specific question that it's like, maybe the answer is almost engineered.
Yes.
Or something like that. But like, I like this just natural flow of conversation.
Yeah.
And, we'll see.
Yeah, bro.
We'll see where it goes.
Well, I love it. And I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah.
What episode is this? This is 6?
This is episode 7, brother.
7. I love it.
So,
dude, thank you.
Episode 7, I actually made a little video about this when you called me earlier. Yep. Apparently most podcasts, there's a danger zone between 3 to 10. And it's usually like most don't make it to episode 7.
Okay.
So we're out of that threshold.
Defying odds, baby.
I think 50. So you just hit 50, right?
Yes.
Your 1 year. Actually, we just crossed your 1 year mark, right? Early December last year.
Early December last year.
So 50 episodes, you crossed it.
Yep.
So like apparently like 90% don't make it to that.
Well, that's good.
So
to know.
you broke into that. So small steps at a time.
Yes, sir.
Trying to keep it, reasonable,
100%.
right?
Yep.
Like I'm doing an hour or 2 a week.
Yeah.
1 episode a week. That's what I did. The week before Thanksgiving, I doubled down.
No doubt.
But it was weird because I doubled down. And then that episode didn't come out for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it was with my boy Malik,
That's why I
the
listened
Eagles
to that
kid.
one. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool.
so he's actually a very interesting dude.
No
and
doubt.
people only see him as this funny guy online, so it was great, to people
Actually
to see.
converse with him for sure.
Yeah, like that was a really good conversation. But like we were talking about an Eagles game that was like 3 weeks prior to the airing.
Yeah.
And like I don't know if people picked up on it, but it bothered me. So, but yeah, I'm just 1 a week.
Yep.
And who knows?
I love it, bro.
Yeah, just trying to have fun with it. Like this specifically, I started because like, we've talked about burnout and stuff like that. And like now I see like from an outside perspective, it's like, oh man, you're working so much on all these properties and the rare.
Yep.
But like that, I understand why you still have energy to pour into rare because it's like your passion.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like that's kind of what this is.
100%.
Like someone said to me, like, dude, you started a podcast too, aren't you so busy? I'm like, no, this is like, I equivalent this to like when I was younger, I used to love skateboarding.
Yeah.
Right. That was
yeah.
like my first true love was skateboarding.
No doubt.
Right. Like still have that
100%.
Like, itch in me. But like
it fills you up.
Yeah, it does.
It doesn't, even though you're pouring yourself out to it, it's filling you up, right? Because you enjoy doing it. Yeah. Yeah, man. I feel the same way about Rosary Real Estate. And that's like, why do we do the things that we do? We do it to fuel our passions. I don't buy real estate to like just have another job in real estate. I don't love every single task that I do in running my portfolio, but I do it to open up the time to spend time with my family, to work on Rosary Real Estate, to, put out content, to do these things that I actually enjoy doing. You know what I mean? So, dude, you're doing great. Truly.
Thanks, man.
And, it's
in
fun.
your opinion ways, I do value your opinion.
Listen,
for sure, man.
I think for the last
people,
I appreciate that. And for the lesson that I will say that you've understood and that everybody should understand is life rewards people who make uncomfortable decisions. That is the best piece of advice that I ever got from my brother-in-law, actually, who's making a lot of uncomfortable decisions, and life's on the precipice of rewarding him as well. But that is, if you understand that and you understand the game and you understand there's seasons of life. That's one thing that my wife always likes to say is there's seasons
like
of life.
Seasons.
You're going to go through some winter seasons. You're going to go through some spring seasons. You're going to go through seasons where things are feeling like they're falling apart, but it's just a season. And you have to ask yourself in that season, what can you pull from it? What can you get from that season that's going to make you better in the future? And that's all it is, man. Chase virtues, don't chase money. That's my opinion. And, you know, by you conversing with people like myself and other people, like you're getting a lot of insight from that, from the interviewing, and everybody that's listening is getting a lot as well. So you're doing a service to the public by doing this, truthfully. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's what it's about.
No doubt.
So, but
Well, I'm proud of you, dude. Seriously.
thanks, man.
Yeah.
You as well.
Yeah. And I'm proud of the family that you have too, dude. I love seeing you
Thanks,
and Connie and the
man.
kids,
Thanks.
man. Truly. You guys are awesome together.
Appreciate that. Yeah, we try to, you know, keep a realistic portrayance of a family life.
You do, bro. It's amazing. I love
Instagram,
it.
you know what I mean, or social media. We're actually, we were talking about this last night, so we're going to do mass on Christmas.
Fire.
As a family.
Fire.
So it's going to be our first year doing it. We got signed up at a local church.
Which one are you going to?
We do St. Pius. It's in Broomall.
Bro, well, I don't know of it, but if it's called St. Pius, it's got to be a banger because Pius
It's a nice church.
Yeah,
it's nice, and the people are cool there. Like where we got my daughter baptized years ago, they were rough. Like it was just the whole establishment was just like dealing with them was a nightmare. They felt like they wanted just our money and it was just, I don't know. We didn't have a good experience.
Yeah.
But like with this place, we felt welcomed and
love it.
Yeah, we liked it. So
that's
so it's cool.
Man. Yeah.
And we're excited for it.
That's important. I think, you know, finding a church that's good that you can bring your kids to is also just as important, right? Because it's like not just because it's a Catholic church doesn't mean that it's going to be an amazing church. Now, every church, what happens in the Mass is equivalent, right? It's the, you know, you receive the Eucharist, the body of Christ. So that's no matter where you go, if you're receiving that, you're good because that's what the purpose of the Mass is.
Sure.
But ultimately, at the same time, even my wife and I, like we jumped around a couple churches before we found the one that we really, really love and that we can call home. So it's good. Once you find that, that's a huge foundational point to building, you know, a firm faith in your family. So I'm happy to hear that you found it.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
that's awesome. I'm very honestly walking out of here, hearing you say that, like truly made this pod for me. So
that's what I mean. You brought me a physical Christmas present, but I figured I leave you that present.
That is a perfect present
on the way out.
Yes,
so.
yes, dude. Well, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
Seriously.
Man. No, I appreciate you too. Thanks, Frankie.
Thank you for having me, bro. 100%.
And you know, I'll have to have you back.
Yes.
That's another thing. Like each person I've had on, I'm like, we definitely got to run it back.
100%.
6 months, a year, or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Do it again next week.
Sounds good to me.
If we want to.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So that's what's cool about this. You know, I'm the only person running it.
Yeah.
So we can kind of do whatever. But
Fire, bro.
Be creative.
Yep.
So thanks, Frank.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you.
All right, man.